attractive young lady sitting next to me on television.
Where do you find that?
Last night I was at a law club dinner, and one of the lawyers was telling me he watches us all the time.
People. Like I'm sitting in that. Bryson is Bryson hanging out in the hallway? Thank you.
Larry, I think we need you up here.
Good morning.
Hi, Bryce.
So we're on a rocket docket here at the beginning. Bear with me.
You ready? Okay. Mr. Page, we're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. The Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City proceedings will begin. The board is now in session. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, preliminary matter on the AM docket, case number 13, 4238 Frederick Avenue, the Loop Bar and Kitchen. This case has been postponed, and all interested parties will be notified as to the new date and time. Case number 1, is there a request for postponement, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Fogel? Okay, sure.
Yes, good
Case number 1, Rodrigo Torres and Gregory Brown, R.R. Taqueria, 30 Light Street LLC, trading as R&R Taqueria, 30 Light Street, Suite 002. This is a Class B, a beer, wine, and liquor license, an application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. Please come forward.
Before you start, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have not appeared before the Liquor Board before, we are recorded and we're televised, so it's important that when you come forward that first, if you're going to testify, that you be sworn, and then that you speak into these microphones and identify yourself, if you'd be kind enough to spell your name for the reporter who's here to my left so that we can make a record of it. And don't get too close, but this distance works pretty well. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the applicant. I'm asking for a postponement today. Mr. Albaran Torres is the primary applicant and will be the general manager. He is in the nation of Colombia, and he did contact my office to tell me he was out of town, and I meant to get a postponement into you all earlier, but I ended up, after a lengthy renewal application season, it didn't happen, and I went off for a very brief vacation in Charleston, South Carolina. I do have Mr. Davon Barbauer, who is the Vice President of Economic Development for Downtown Partnership. He showed up this morning for the hearing to offer a letter of support and testimony. I told him what had happened, and I would like to submit this to the board for the record for the upcoming hearing. I hope you'll.
That's fine. And we can reset this, Mr. Page?
We can, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We'll grant the postponement, and we'll accept the
Great. Thank you very,
letter.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need to read that exhibit in.
Yes. I'd call exhibit for the record. Licensee or applicant exhibit 1, letter of support from Downtown Partnership dated April 4th, 2018. Thank you.
Good. Yes, yes.
We're going to call case number 8 on the AM docket. Reza McCure and Edward Jeter, P.N.A. Inc., trading as Washington Bar and Liquor, 2501-03 Washington Boulevard. This is a Class BD7, a beer, wine, and liquor license here for an application to transfer ownership. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kanensky, 320 North Charles Street, representing the applicants.
Good morning. Gentlemen, will you raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
For the record, Mr. Jeter is here. He's sitting in the very back. He has just a little disability. He's on a current license. He's going to stay on as the city resident. The applicant here has worked at this establishment for the last 3.5, 4 years. It's the same corporation. It's a change in stockholders. He's finally getting a chance to have his own ownership. The prior owner is here. He is actually leaving to go to Baltimore County to have a place. They've met with the community, with Miss Carol McCoy. They've been in various meetings. They're going to have some meetings there. Won't be any change in the operation of the business. It'll be certified, alcohol certified, the same employees, same hours of operation. I don't think there'll be any problem. He does appreciate you taking him because he and his family are flying to India shortly.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
Just one question. So the inspector's report references health and fire permits that would have expired by the end of March.
Yeah, they've reapplied for him. They'll get him before he picks the license up. It was just a question. It was a transition there.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, and so this is a tavern, correct?
Correct. BD7 Tavern, right?
Yeah, okay. And this is a gentleman who's going to have the license?
Yes, my name's Ali Reza Mukhi, Alireza, last name Mukhi.
And you've worked at this location for 3 or 4 years, Mr.
3.5
Kadesky?
years.
Okay. Any problems while you've been there?
No, no problems at all.
Oh, okay. Next case, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, anything further, Mr.
No
Kanensky?
further, Submit.
All right, on the basis of the materials contained in the application, the testimony received and the proffers from council, I'd vote to approve the transfer.
I concur and vote to approve the transfer.
I concur as well. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No exhibits for the record.
Mr. Page, you want to call number 7 then?
Yes, we're going to call case number 7, John Barnhart, Lansdowne Liquors, Inc., trading as Bozeman Bar and Lounge, 3360 Annapolis Road. This is a Class D beer, wine, and liquor license. An application to transfer ownership and location of a Class D beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 2511 East Fayette Street to 33060 Annapolis Road with delivery of alcoholic beverages. Please come forward.
Would all those who are going to testify raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Counsel?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Actually, good morning. For the record, Frank Boozer on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Barnhart, present to my right.
Will Harrington on behalf of the Lakeland Community Association Partnership. With me is Ms. Oliver, the president of the association. Also with me is Councilman Ed Reisinger.
Good morning to everyone. Mr. Booz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board knows, this is a transfer application for a Class BD7 license. I'm going to have my client briefly talk to the board about his vision for the matter. I have several exhibits I'd like to pass up. I think I have 12 in total, so I'll try to pass them up slowly so they can be marked.
Mr. Chairman, pardon me, for the record, this is a Class D.
I'm sorry, Class D. I apologize.
Yes.
Quite simply, my client, as I said, is applying to open a full-service restaurant at this location. He has community support letters from the 2 communities which actually encompass the present location. I am somewhat at a loss as to why Lakeland is protesting this. The location itself is not within their community district. Despite 3 repeated attempts to reach out to them, he has received nothing but a stone wall from them. So again, I'd like the board to know we have community association support from both communities which encompass the location, but for some reason have not been able to reach any kind of negotiation or deal with Lakeland. This is a great idea. In fact, I just, like Mr. Fogelman, got back from Charleston, South Carolina again the other night. We were both there at the same time. And every time I look at this menu, in fact, it makes me hungry. It's a great concept. It's a great owner. It's a great location. I can't, for the life of me, figure out why any community would not want this owner, this establishment in their community. And that being said, I'll first pass up the menu and ask a few questions of my client, if that's all right, Mr. Chairman.
Let me just ask you this, and I know I'm going to give everybody a chance to speak, but it struck me in reviewing this that the concern wasn't with your client or with a restaurant, but it was the concentration of licenses within an area.
And I'm fully prepared to address that, as you can see, probably somewhat terrified.
Well, I
when
wanted to
walked
ask
up with
first as a
map.
question. I understand that, but has your client purchased the place where this is going? Is he definitely going to this location as opposed to other potential
He is
locations?
going to this location. I have the term and loan agreement for $250,000, which he's negotiated with private lenders. This is the terms on which and the location which they are willing to lend the money. In fact, the intersection is a very, very large commercial intersection. I often pass by there if I'm going to the Southside District Court, just off the highway right there. Again, it's a heavy commercialized district, and I understand the concern that there are other liquor licenses in this area, but
I believe that is the sole concern, isn't it?
Yes.
right.
So I don't think you don't need to sell us that he's got a great restaurant and that he's a great manager. I don't think anyone objects to any of that.
Okay. And I'm also prepared at length to address need and accommodation as well.
I guess that's what we need to hear.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could, I mean, the kitchen piece is I agree with what the chairman said, but the kitchen piece also is of concern because the menu seems lengthy, but the drawing that reflects the actual kitchen and the eating area seems awfully small.
Mr. Greenberg, I am fully prepared to
Great.
put a new
Perfect.
new drawing into the record, which I think is, again, fully supportive of the project. So that being said on the menu, I'd like to pass it up to the board after review by council. Mr. Barnhart, we talked at length about this, and you're probably better suited to tell the board than anyone else.
Scoot him over to the microphone, please.
Obviously. Simply, why do you want to do this?
Well, good morning. This has always been a dream of mine to eventually have a restaurant. I've been in the service industry for 30 years plus. I started as a manager at Jerry Subs years ago at 20. I then was op manager for businesses. Then I had a catering business, and I currently work for the airline, and I'm still in the service industry, hospitality, if you will. I noticed, one reason I picked this location is because I think every community deserves a vibrant community, and it's a food desert. It needs some better opportunities there. And when I went a step further, me and my associates, to meet with the Lakeland Partnership Association to see what could we actually do in addition to opening an establishment and bringing revenue to the area, what can we do to help them? I got nothing. And we suggested 15% for senior citizens as well as low-income families in the area to help them out, of course, showing proper identification to verify. It's going to be a vibrant restaurant, adequate parking, lighting, trash constraint, keeping an eye on that as well as trying to really partnership with the community around us and see what can we do. Can we give you books to the children or have some type of day where people come in and sample, whatever it is.
Let me ask you, Mr. Boozer said that you had received support from 2 community groups. Who were
I can skip right to those, Mr. Chairman, if you like.
I wanted to know who it was, so everything's
I
out here.
have, 2 community association groups and a business association group, as well as, it's maybe the right time. I have 429 signatures from the local community. Not only did we, in a sense, vet all of these people, we also had a chance to go through, and I'll pass that was one of my next exhibits, the 187 signatures obtained by the Lakeland Partnership. And I actually have a spreadsheet breakdown.
Let's just get your support first, okay?
Thank you. Here are 67 individually signed affidavits from local residents, as well as the Westport Community Association. And again, I don't want to.
Real quickly, it says here Class A license. I just want to
I think that was a typo on behalf of my
Okay.
client. As you'll see on the map here, I'm not sure if this needs to be an exhibit, the actual location lies outside the Lakeland Association. And I believe we have a representative here from Cherry Hill to support our application. As I said, not only did I go through the 187 signatures opposed, but took opportunity to call every single one of those numbers, have a spreadsheet, half of those simply don't even work. The numbers don't work. So again, this may have been a situation where not only do we have support through affidavits, through community letters, and this is the Westport community letter I'll pass up right now. And I said, we'll have a gentleman speaking on our behalf from Cherry Hill. But the community association, I believe, just for whatever reason, Lakeland didn't even want to negotiate.
I'm going to get to that. I had asked you the names of the community organizations who support
Yeah,
you.
Cherry Hill and
Westport is
Westport.
one and Cherry Hill is the other?
Correct.
And you said there was a business group?
Yes, I'll pass it up next.
Mr., which Westport? Because are there two Westport organizations? Because one's,
It says Mount Winans Westport
is that the one you're referring to, Mr.
Yes, that's
Boozer?
correct,
Okay.
in support, yes.
at Hollis Ferry Road. It's the president.
And I believe I know that we have one more letter of support, but I believe that the gentleman helping me ran outside.
Well,
with it.
you can take a look for a while. Let me hear briefly from the other side, okay?
Thank you, Chairman. Will Harrington on behalf of the Lakeland Community Association Partnership. I take issue with the notion that we have stonewalled. We have had discussions with the applicant in good faith. A key criteria is avoiding off-premises sales, and that has not been a term that they've been willing to negotiate. There are a tremendous number of alcohol establishments in very close proximity to this proposed location, and there are too many. And the association is fed up with the proliferation of alcohol establishments there. And so that was the key term.
Help us out a little bit because I don't know the community that well. So when you say alcohol establishments, you're talking about liquor stores, bars? What are you talking about? Because he's talking about a restaurant.
Right.
He is talking about a restaurant that will sell
no
alcohol
question.
for off-premises sales, a packaged goods store. While we'll also sell food, it is the off-premises alcohol sale that has drawn the objection of the community. I have, and Ms. Oliver has a map as well. Why don't you open that up? This is a
I think we have in our record too the concentration, but thank you.
If you look up north of 295, we have Hollinswood Inn, Liquor and Bar. Solivers is an open alcohol establishment.
Yes, it is.
And then if you go down south, you have Starters Bar. Is that an open alcohol establishment?
Yes, it is.
Further south, Gateway. Now, this is, I'll disclose, in the county, the Gateway, but that's an open alcohol establishment. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Blue Crab Cafe Express Carryout. Oh, go ahead. I'm
Make
sorry.
sure she's by the microphone.
Yes, it is.
Have you identified yourself?
I need a little more information, just her first name would be nice.
My name is Pamela Oliver. I'm the president of Lakeland Community. Oliver.
Okay, just wanna make sure.
I'm the president of Lakeland Community Association Partnership.
Can I just stop for a second, too? I want to get some more information. So on a Class D license, what are the hours, Mr. Akris? I don't think you need to be sworn. I'm just asking for advice from our...
6 a.m. To 1 a.m., 6 days a week.
And Mr. Chairman, I apologize, it may be appropriate this time. My client's proposed operating hours are 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay. And how many days? 6?
7 days a week.
I thought he said you can only be open
Oh, 6, I'm sorry, 6, I'm sorry. 6.
Okay.
You permit him 7. It's 6 days a week, 11 to 11.
And these other establishments, I'm sorry, are these all packaged goods stores or are they taverns as well?
They're packaged goods stores also.
Okay.
Also packaged goods stores.
Okay. So, was there any discussion in your communications with the opponents about limiting perhaps the hours of the off-premises sales?
For one thing, he never addressed our community association. The guy named Mr. Gale did. He never came to our community.
So someone else came?
Yes, he did not come.
As well as their prior attorney, Mr. Hurdle, who was here. I know he doesn't like being called as a fact witness, so I won't put him on the stand.
So
But
you have not met Mr. Barnhart before?
I met him when I was here 2 months ago,
Okay.
but he have not come to talk to the community association at all.
You met him here in this building.
Right.
And again, our major concern was looking at the geographical boundaries, which are registered with Baltimore City. We have the blessing of the two community associations.
I understand. I think we understand that, but we, if you don't resolve issues with these folks, you're going to be back here on
I
protest.
don't like protest hearings as much as the board doesn't like them.
Right.
But again, I don't want to use a broad brush to paint our negotiations. Again,
I'm not
I
trying to-
wasn't part of that, but
I'm
it
I'm not
was,
finding fault with anybody about it. I'm just trying to get the trains to meet and see if there's some place where there's some possibility of a compromise somewhere that will satisfy both sides.
and I would suggest that having an 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., obviously restricted to 6 days a week, is an extremely modest use of that license. I admittedly am not one that subscribes to the theory that alcohol licenses equal rise in crime rate, blight in communities.
I'm not an expert, so I don't know.
Right, so again, I've heard enough experts to know that even they don't know. I believe, as I said, that even if we go to the component of health, safety, and welfare as part of the statute, I do not believe, absent the general belief that 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Would be enough for the board to find that there was a reason for concern as to health, safety, and general welfare. Again,
Don't presume what the board might consider. I think what you need to do is to figure out a way to resolve this issue. For my satisfaction, and the other commissioners can speak for themselves. So I see down the road that you're going to have problems. Mr. Barnett, you seem to be a very sincere and nice and experienced man who wants to run a good operation. And I want you to do the same thing. But I don't want them protesting constantly or calling us constantly with 311 calls because they're upset about it. And they do, I know they're not technically in your area, but they're nearby, and there's a very high concentration of these places. So is there a possibility of getting together with them and trying to work something out?
We had actually done that when we came here in February, and we postponed it to actually meet. My associate met with them, which Ms. Perry
Oliver.
is referring to. I travel a lot, so in my absence, he was there, and they met, and they did not come to an agreement. So I'm like, well, what more can we do? I'm reaching across the aisle, to grab your hand. My business associate is also. We've given you suggestions. You're no. What more can I do?
I think the answer to that is not sell off-premises alcohol.
And, Mr. Chairman, to that point,
Go ahead.
to that point, that seems to be one of the fundamental issues here, right? Because as we start to dive into this case, that seems to me to be the bigger issue with respect to the liquor store. The drawing that you've just submitted in terms of a restaurant makes some sense, and there could be some uniqueness in that with respect to the rest of the area. But, Mr. Boozer, can you or your client just speak to the issue with prohibiting off-premises sales? What's the...
I assume it's an economic issue.
Right. Is that...
It's an economic issue, and again, like I said, General somehow Mr. Fogel and I were both out in South Carolina at the same time. Traditional model of Southern barbecue shops, a lot of it is indeed catering based. You come in, you get and Andy Nelson's is the popular one down here. You get your enormous box or bags full of barbecue, and you get your beer at the same time, and then you bring it home for your guests to eat. It is a one-stop shop. It is kind of integral to this. I do not see in any way this becoming what we would normally perceive as a liquor store. People going in, they're not going to sell menus, they're not going to sell fits.
To negotiate on customers who are not buying food?
I will, if I may, 1 second.
Well, I think you all might need to talk about
Right, I
that.
think
As far as the materials that have been submitted to the board, I have not seen those, have not been served on me. They were not submitted 48 hours ahead of time.
Right.
I would object to the consideration if I don't
I
have a
would be
chance
glad to show the board the email from last week. Right.
I'm having trouble discerning who's talking. We need to be.
And I do not dispute that Mr. Boozer has raised with me that this establishment is not in the defined borders of Lakeland. It's exceptionally close. He has given me these documents. I have not received those that have just been submitted to you. And the drawing that I have received does say bar limited packaged goods right here by the entrance.
Right.
And Mr. Chairman, I would have if I could at this time, the chairman or president of the Lakeland Community Association, I'm sorry, not Lakeland, Cherry Hill, in which this, Lakeland, sir, say your name for the record.
He needs to be sworn too.
Yep.
Raise your right hand, please, sir.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you step up to the microphone, please? And tell us your name, please.
Fillmore Green.
Fillmore Green?
Yes.
Okay, and what is your position, sir?
Well, I am chairman of the Lakeland Community Association.
You're the head of her association?
No, we're the lower.
He's
yeah,
part
we're
of a
the-
different
Different association. Yeah, we're below her. And now I'm off on Hollands Ferry down Holland Ferry now.
Okay, you have similar names, your organization?
Yes.
So what is your association called?
Just Lakeland Association.
And yours is called?
Lakeland Community Association Partnership.
Okay. And do you all know one another?
Never met me before. Never saw me before.
Councilman, did you want to add something?
Lakeland for
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, first of all, number one, if it's a restaurant, it should be a restaurant. If you look at those drawings, and I got it from an email from Pamela Oliver, the president of Lakeland, you could see that there's a bar when you come in, and they have the kitchen, but they also have two, I guess it's walk-in boxes, 2 freezers. Okay, I owned a bar for 14 years. For them to have 2 freezers, that's a lot of space for beer and alcohol. If it's going to be a small restaurant, and they're saying it's only going to cater to the customers. Okay, I'm Councilman Ed Rice, and represent the 10th District. So I don't trust or believe in that they gave us regards to the map of what it's going to be inside. In regards to community associations, I've been in the council for 25 years, okay? 25 years. And the only association where that's located, that's the Lakeland boundaries. When any other applicant that comes in front of this board to get a license, you see her face. You don't see anyone else. So this is the community association and the leader of Lakeland, and you can see there's 8 other establishments, whether the bars or liquor stores, it's packaged goods. And I think their main revenue is going to be packaged goods, okay? And you open the door. I think that if he's willing, as the board had said, if the applicant's willing to say, look, it's just going to be a restaurant, that's something they can negotiate with the community. But you're opening up the door as a packaged goods. And no offense to this gentleman, I represent Cherry Hill. Cherry Hill is farther south of Lakeland. In order to get Cherry Hill, you got to go past Lakeland. And also, I've never met this gentleman, no offense. I've never been to his meetings. I've never heard of the community association. So only one I know is Lakeland. It was Pam Oliver. And in regards to Westport, that's farther east and south, okay? You won't see Westport coming in here when it came to those other packaged good applicants. And Cherry Hill is Mike Middleton and Cleota Walker and those people over there. I know all them people for 25 years. So Cherry Hill, I don't know what letter he got. It ain't from any of those people who are community leaders. You know what I mean? I don't know who's the signatures. I haven't looked at the signatures. I don't think the community's looked at the signatures. But what I say to the board, Mr. Chair and Commissioner, this is basically going to be a packaged goods that's saying they're going to sell food. And if they're saying it's only going to be isolated to the customers, they're not going to do that, because anybody that comes in and wants to buy a 6-pack or case of beer, they're going to sell it. And again, I'm repeating myself, you got 2 cooler boxes. Why do you need 2 large cooler boxes like that if it's going to be a small restaurant and only sell, packaged goods to people that's inside? So
I have a question. I think the councilman's point is valid. Under the zoning code, can packaged goods be sold in that area?
Yes. In the interest of giving the protestants what they want, my client has just reluctantly agreed to state a condition on his license will be alcohol with food. He's willing to do that. I don't see any reason for a protest.
Alcohol, what does that mean, alcohol with food?
If you're buying alcohol, you must also buy food.
And does that include a stick of gum?
Without going through every single saleable item which is consumable by a human being, I would assume it doesn't. It's whatever's on their menu.
Well, why don't you then say menu items?
Menu items, very well.
I need to confer with Ms. Oliver.
But why don't you all take a few moments. We'll call another case. Step back, have some conversation.
Just one question. So if the board, permits this, so they will be able to sell packaged goods to anyone that comes off the street?
If they're purchasing their.
What if they don't purchase, if they're not purchasing?
He's saying that he's agreeing that they have to purchase a menu item in order to buy the alcohol.
Okay, so I or you cannot go there and
And buy
walk
a
in and
six-pack
say,
alone.
I want to.
Right.
Okay,
right.
you got.
That's what he's saying.
Right, you have to
Okay.
purchase one of those.
You all need to really come together on
Mr.
that.
Chairman, real quickly, Mr. Chairman, the gentleman to my right needs to be sworn in. He actually had something that he wanted to
Okay,
add.
I didn't even see this
And
gentleman. Being very quiet, sir.
He was raising his hand.
Oh.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And your name, sir?
Curry Hamilton.
Hamilton?
Yeah, I wrote a letter. Will say you got a copy of it. I just want to throw some figures at you. Cherry Hill has a population over 8,100 residents, one liquor store. Westport has 2,800 residents, one liquor store. Lakeland got a population a little over 4,500 residents, 7 liquor store taverns, sell the meal. Now, who say later on the building he has to rent is 2,900 square feet? It used to be a Royal Farm. Now, 10 tables max you can fit in there. Now, people are not going to come to eat and buy a packaged good and take out. Who says later on down the line the food is not selling and he turns around and say, I'm gonna make it only a package deal. That's a business move. He knows for himself if the food is not selling, he signs a lease with Royal Farm for a particular term, and he's going to do what he can to salvage his business.
I understand. I mean, Mr. Hamilton, everyone goes into this business wants to make some money, but what we're discussing here is some limitation on his license that would permit him to sell the liquor only in connection with the sale of the food. If he's willing to agree to that, that's a restriction on the license.
Okay.
Okay. So why don't you all have the conversation and see if you can work something out, and we're not going anywhere. We'll be here. Thank you.
Commissioners.
We'll hold this in abeyance.
You're welcome.
Community liaison. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Page.
Case number 2, Mr. Chairman, on the AM docket. Christopher Growitz and Mustafa Sarahan, 3333 Charles LLC, trading as Home Slice, 3333 North Charles Street. This is a Class B, a beer, wine, and liquor license, an application to transfer ownership requesting outdoor table service and off-premise catering. Please come forward.
Counsel.
Abraham Hurd on behalf of 333 North Charles. With me is Mr. Rahman and Mr. Chris.
Gentlemen, raise your right hands, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Mr. Hurdle?
This is a transfer of ownership. It's a Class B license from the existing location. It used to be a PJ's Pub, which was, I believe, kind of a popular college hangout bar. My clients have been in negotiation with, I guess, the property's most senior owner, kind of through the chain, which I believe is John Hopkins. This is in the sub-basement or basement of an apartment building. And again, it used to be kind of a loud, arguably kind of a rowdy place. Through a bunch of different events, this application went in almost 6 months ago. We were trying to pursue live entertainment. The previous location had it. We were supposed to have a zoning hearing about 2 weeks ago, but due to snow, it was canceled. So we ended up just trying to go forward so we can get open in May or as soon as possible. I do have letters of support. I have copies here for the board, and Stacy's already received a copy. And this is from John Hopkins. I also have letters of support from Charles Village, who we met with numerous times at the premises and elsewhere. The location is getting significant renovations. I believe there weren't windows, actually, in the old premises, and it was kind of a packaged goods, kind of liquor store upon entrance. All that's gone. It's well lit now. A beautiful spot. It really does look like it's coming together nicely. We do have an MOU. It is unsigned. That was supposed to get taken care of at the previous zoning hearing. We're happy to submit the MOU.
MOU is between,
Charles Village Association and the licensees.
and are your clients willing to
Absolutely.
have the terms of the MOU be a restriction on the license to the extent they're enforceable?
Absolutely. And I have multiple copies of that if the board wants to take a look at it. Again, I do apologize that it's unsigned. The previous hearing at zoning was canceled. And we do have that live entertainment hearing, sadly, on the 17th of April, so we'll have to come back here soon. I do have extra copies if the commissioners would like to see it.
Okay, and so,
Mr. Rahman, if I may proffer, has been working with the Home Slice organization for, I want to say 3 years, is that correct? And he's also been a resident of the city for 3 years. He actually personally lived in this building, in one of the apartments, not the pub itself, in the past. So he's familiar with kind of noise issues, things of that nature. And he lives close by, so he'll be able to take care of any sort of concerns that the neighborhood may have, should they arise. Chris, who's with me, has 20 years experience in the industry, 20 years in Baltimore and 30 years in the industry. I apologize. And again, we anticipate this being a pretty straightforward operation. We will be pursuing live entertainment next time. For now, just live entertainment, outdoor table service.
how much of that?
How much? I think we're looking at, I want to say we have 6 four-tops. Is that accurate, or something in that neighborhood, 30 seats?
Yeah,
About 30 seats.
And is that have zoning approval?
It's actually not on the sidewalk. It does have zoning approval. Under the new code with a restaurant, you'll have to have outdoor table service. Straightforward. And they used to have it as well, is my understanding.
Who's managing the day-to-day operations of the establishment?
I believe both of these gentlemen will be, but Ramen, absolutely.
And both of them are alcohol awareness certified.
Are you out? Have you taken the alcohol training?
I need to take it again.
You need to take it again.
I had it twice.
You've taken it twice. It's lapsed, but you're going to take it again?
No, I already took it twice, but it expired.
Expired.
So you're in a college community, you have to be very vigilant about sales to minors.
If I may, they've currently operate and help operate the Federal Hill location as well as the location in Canton and the downtown location. So in terms of, making sure things are carded, making sure operations are in place to keep underage minors out, this is something that's been negotiated to an extraordinary length with the property owner. And I think one of the reasons we got the letter of support is that we've been willing to make significant commitments to operate in a certain fashion.
You're in my neighborhood, though. You have to be careful.
You should come out. It's very good. Pizza's great. Try the hummus.
I will
Wonderful.
try.
My youngest loves your salad, just for the record. I'd be remiss if I didn't say it.
Commissioners have other questions? Hearing none.
Questions?
Then on the basis of the materials contained in the application, the other documents that have been received during the course of the hearing, the proffers from counsel and testimony, and in particular the memorandum of understanding with the community organization from Charles Village, I would vote to approve the transfer of the license subject to the terms of the MOU.
I vote to approve the transfer of the license subject to the terms of the MOU as well.
And I vote also to approve the transfer subject to the terms of the MOU with the understanding that live entertainment isn't a part of this, but you may be coming back.
Correct. And the MOU addresses the live entertainment, as does.
I saw that in there, but obviously you can't do that yet.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May be excused.
You may, thank you. Good luck.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, letter of support from Charles Village Civic Association dated 3/15/18. Exhibit number 2, letter of support from John Hopkins Government and Community Affairs dated March 14, 2018. Applicant Exhibit 3, MOU between applicants and the Charles Village Civic Association.
Okay.
Number 3 on the docket, Mr. Chairman, Darlene Johnson Strange, Melody Inc., trading as Melody, 800 St. Paul Street. This is a Class D beer and wine license. An application to transfer ownership, requesting outdoor table service. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kaninsky representing the applicant.
Good morning. Ma'am, will you raise your right hand, please?
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
For the record, this is a transfer of an existing location. It's coming from a secured creditor. The applicant has had prior experience working in several different restaurants and is familiar with the rules and regulations of the liquor board. It's a small cafe up in the Mount Vernon Belvedere area. I would submit, and I don't know if you have it as part of your record or not, some letters of support. Got one for each
Are you
one of
Ms.
you.
Johnson Strange?
I am.
Okay. Thank you.
In the packet itself
Thank you.
is a letter of support from Senator McFadden for this operation. Behind that is a letter from the Mount Vernon Belvedere Association in support. And lastly, is a memorandum of understanding that has been signed between the Mount Vernon Belvedere Improvement Association and the applicant. You understand that this will be made part of the record, and you'll be bound by the terms and conditions of the MOU.
Yes.
And you agree to it, is that correct?
Yes.
And you've been active in the community and met with the various community groups, is that correct?
Yes.
And you'll be the person who's responsible for running this operation. And maybe tell the board a little bit what kind of a place it is. What is it, a cafe, what does it have?
So our it's a basement cafe. We only have we're very small. We offer your basic, breakfast, lunch. Working on a dinner menu, donuts, muffins. We actually serve local. So our basis is to actually grab the community, and we actually do bottoms up bagels, which is a local bagel maker. We also try our best just to have all our items to be local because we want to be with the community. That's the whole reason that we opened, is to kind of be a hub for the community. There was a place that was there and they closed, and they were like really upset that they didn't have anywhere to get their coffee. A lady came to me, she said, "I'm so glad you're here." She said, "The reason why I moved across the street is because it was a coffee shop." And she said, 2 months after I moved in, we closed, and she was like, "I'm just so happy," and then she hugged me, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome." So the neighborhood had just been really great, and we just want to be a part of the community and kind of offer them, what they're asking for. We really just...
The BMZ had previously approved the
Yes, for
outdoor table
outdoor seating.
service on that. And I was always a big proponent of hugs, and especially group hugs if we can. We just don't have enough of those. And if that's where you can go to get one,
We'll take care of you afterwards.
okay.
Mr. Kudensky, point of clarification on the application. Is there going to be live entertainment or not? Not clear.
They're not zoned for it.
No, so we did initially put in for live entertainment, but we were told that Mount Vernon is not licensed or zoned for that.
They don't have the zoning approval.
So we took it off, yes.
Clarify. Thank you.
Anything further?
Nothing for us to submit.
Okay, on the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the exhibits which have been received here, including the letters of support and the MOU, the proper from council and the testimony, I would vote to approve the transfer subject to the terms of the MOU.
I vote to approve the transfer subject to the terms of the MOU as well.
I concur to approve the transfer with subject to the terms of the MOU. Good luck.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Hope you get more hugs.
So do I.
You're welcome. I call exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, letter of support, Senator McFadden, dated March 29, 2018. Applicant Exhibit 2, letter of support from Mount Vernon Belvedere Association dated April 2nd, 2018. Exhibit number 3, MOU between applicants and Mount Vernon Belvedere Improvement Association. Thank you.
Christian Wilkins, Robert Baker, and Deborah Baker. Happy Dog, Inc., trading as Todd Connors, 700 South Broadway. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. An application to transfer ownership with continuation of outdoor table service. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kudensky representing the applicants.
Would you raise your right hands, please?
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
This is basically in the same corporation. Mr. Wilkins has been on this license for the past 4 or 5 years, operating it. There were 2 other stockholders and partners that were bought out by the parents here, and have agreed to step in.
Whose parents? His?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thought they were yours, Mel.
We'd all be in trouble at this point.
You're too young for, sorry, no disrespect. I'll give you a hug.
Just one? So there won't be any difference in the way the place is operated. They haven't had any problems there. The outdoor table services are on the license. Apparently, the zoning is missing a plat that we're get down to them, but it's actually on the license now, be a continuation of same. It's a Fells Point area. Say that Mr. Wilkins will be running it, and then this, of course, Mom's been down there. She's been complaining already. But, you know, that's how you learn.
And did I read that they're about to start renovating the Broadway Market, one part of it? Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the Atlas Group.
Yeah, so that should help business? Will it help business?
I don't know that we need any more restaurants down there.
Okay.
Well, that's the old previous brothers, but I remember when Rocky was the market master down there. That's how long, before he had electricity, I think.
Do the commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
The only question or comment I have is to the parents. You know that you're obviously in ownership, and from our record, you live in Virginia, Chesapeake. I assume it's a few hours away, and I trust that you have the utmost confidence in your son to join him in ownership, because you're equally as responsible. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the profits from council testimony received, I would vote to approve the transfer.
I vote to approve the transfer as well.
I concur.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
No exhibits.
Gotta get some legs on this thing. I think. Tom. Just want to check and see how they're doing on that.
You ready to call?
Yes, let's.
Felix Mendoza, B&M Deli and Grocery, LLC, trading as B&M Deli and Grocery, 3123 Elmora Avenue. This is a Class A beer and wine license, an application to transfer ownership. Please come forward.
Council.
Excuse me, Abraham Hurl on behalf of, I believe it is Felix Mendoza, I apologize, at 3123 Elmora Avenue.
Would everyone who's going to testify raise his or her right hand, please?
Raise your right hands, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hurdle?
I believe this was a license application that came up before, and there was significant opposition. I believe it was from the Bel Air Edison neighborhood and the New Pleasant Grove Church, which is a location that's it was a meeting point for several community associations.
Yep.
I believe since that time, Mr. Mendoza has used some of the time to reach out to the community. It's my understanding that they have received, well, we have an MOU. It's my understanding that we have support, and we are hoping to proceed at this time with that. I only have one copy of the MOU, and it is signed, and we are willing to have it be restrictions.
Is this gentleman representing the community association?
Right, one of the many representatives.
Could you come forward, please? What is your name, sir?
My name's Alvin Gibson, president of 4x4 Community Association.
Okay. And Mr. Gibson?
Alvin Gibson?
Gibson.
A-L-V-I-N.
Mr. Gibson, so you signed off on this memorandum of understanding and you're satisfied?
Yes.
Okay, and this gentleman is always here, so.
Now, Mr. Gibson is signed, here are 3 copies of the memorandum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gibson has signed off on the memorandum of understanding, and also Rita Cruz, who's the president of Bel Air Edison Community Association, has signed.
Okay, and Inspector, did you have something to add?
Andy Perez, Baltimore City Liquor Board. I'm here just to answer any question regarding the inspection that was conducted on November 6th.
It's open and operating.
It was.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about Mr. Mendoza and what,
Sure. Before we go forward to anything about Mr. Mendoza, with me is Miss Alba de la Cruz, who's going to be translating for Mr. Mendoza, who.
She'll need to be sworn.
Correct, and that's why. Yes.
What language are we?
Spanish.
Do you swear or affirm to translate from Spanish to English and English, or actually from English to Spanish and Spanish back to English to the best of your ability?
I do.
And it's Alba de la Cruz?
Yes.
How, the spacing, is it?
It's Alba space DE space LA space CRUZ.
Mr. Chairman, Mayor?
Yes.
This is the location of 3123 Elmore Avenue. It's located in a non-conforming zoning usage.
Okay.
So, Mr. Hurdle, you're aware of.
I'm aware of that.
your
That means
client has been
I have been hired purely for the hearing at this point. Otherwise, this would have been something that would have been of a more extensive discussion prior. My client, I believe, is aware of the ramifications of that. I'll certainly explain it to him in the hallway. It's my understanding that they have closed on the business, and that aspect has already occurred.
Okay.
If I may proffer?
Yes.
It's my understanding Mr. Mendoza has been a city resident for more than 5 years. He has 2 years of experience, and all of those years of experience have been particularly at this individual location. He's looking to operate in the same exact fashion as it's previously been. Mr. Mendoza, do you have the alcohol awareness training?
Yes.
He has the alcohol awareness training. I believe that his employees will also maintain the training as well. And going forward, they plan to card everyone, purchase from wholesalers, and run a reputable business following all the rules and regulations of the Baltimore City Liquor Board.
And will there be, is the population Spanish-speaking primarily?
At 3123 Elmore Avenue, it is. And I can certainly ask Mr. Mendoza for that.
I mean, for those who don't, will there be someone on the premises who speaks English?
Sure. Mr. Mendoza, will there be someone on the premises who speaks English for English-speaking customers?
Habrá alguien en la tienda que hable español, que hable inglés para las personas que no hablan español.
Se entiende poquito.
Yes.
Who would that be?
¿Quién va a ser?
Por lo menos va a estar él.
He's gonna be on the store.
Who? And who is that?
¿Quién?
What's your name, sir? Luis, what's your last name?
So,
he sworn
are
in?
you the son? Brother. Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Bryson?
Yes, I believe he was sworn.
He was sworn, yes.
Perfect. I know Bryson.
Okay. Do the commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Hurdle, I didn't hear if maybe you did say it, Mr. Mendoza's experience.
Yeah, I apologize. I did mention he's worked for 2 years in the industry, 2 years at this location, specifically managing and operating in this location with the previous owner.
Great, thank you.
And he has agreed that the terms of the MOU will be a restriction on his license to the extent they're enforceable.
Absolutely.
Okay, on the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the exhibits received, including the memorandum of understanding, the proffers from counsel and testimony, I'd vote to approve transfer subject to the terms of the MOU.
I vote to approve as well, subject to the terms of the MOU.
And I, too, agree to approve, subject to the terms of the MOU. And thank you, Mr. Gibson, Mr. Hilliard, Mr. Hurdle, and Mr. Mendoza for coming together and working this out.
Inspector.
And Inspector Diaz, as always.
Thank
Will
you.
be excused?
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, MOU between applicants and 4x4 Community Association. Thank you.
Okay. Get the lawyers. Sure. I'm getting hungry.
Adam Benish, Jonathan Zervitz, and Robert Kemery III, Union Craft Brewing Company, LLC, trading as Union Craft Brewing, 1700 West 41st Street. This is a Class D beer license and application to transfer location of the Class D beer license presently located at 1700 Union Avenue, 1700 West 41st Street, requesting outdoor table service, off-premise catering, and delivery of alcoholic beverages. Please come forward.
Please raise your right hands, gentlemen.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Counsel.
Thank you. Good morning, or I guess we're now into the afternoon. Good afternoon. Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin, Greenberg, on behalf of the applicants. I'm joined by my colleague Justin Williams, and then I have with me Adam Benish, Jonathan Zervitz, and Robert Emery, who are our three individual licensees. Mr. Emery is our Baltimore City resident licensee.
Kemery or Emery?
Kemery, I'm sorry.
Make sure.
Yeah.
She was just trying to see if you were awake.
That's right. This is an application to transfer the location of the Class D beer license held by Union Craft Brewing. It's not moving very far. It's moving from 1700 Union Avenue to 1700 West 41st Street. With your permission, I'll proceed by way of a proffer. I know you have a busy docket here this morning.
We do.
Union Craft Brewing was founded in 2011. It's been a great local success story. Mr. Williams has handed out a folder full of exhibits, and you'll see the first few things in the file are a couple of articles where the beer that they make has been awarded certain honors due to its quality. They've done very well. They've been very successful in their current location. They operate under a Class 5 brewery license, and since 2013, they've had a Class D beer license, which authorizes them to serve beer that's brewed on the premises for consumption on the premises, as well as to sell a limited amount of beer that's brewed there for off-premise consumption.
Is the legislature going to mess around with that?
They might. They will obviously comply with whatever it ends up being, but there have been a couple of different proposals in the General Assembly, as I'm sure you're aware. Right now, they're authorized to brew 2,000 barrels for service on premises. That may change in the future. We'll see what happens.
So how far are they actually moving?
It's about 600 feet.
Okay.
It's really not very far. And actually, I learned this morning on their federal.
More space? Do you get more space?
They're getting quite a bit more space. And their federal permit, they're allowed to do it just by a change of address. But here in the city, it is a transfer. So here we are.
And there's no opposition, right?
There's no opposition. There's a letter in the file from the Medfield Community Association in support. It's a larger space that they're moving to. It's called Union Collective. There'll be about 8 other manufacturing local businesses, sort of with a collaborative environment. Their space is about 52,000 square feet in a 138,000 square foot facility. There's an aerial photo of the building in the file, as well as some renderings of the proposed tap room. They have a bar area as well as an outdoor beer garden. So they are having outdoor seating. We've applied for live entertainment. We have a hearing scheduled at the zoning board on May 1st, so we'll be back here on the live entertainment piece of that. But in the meantime, they're getting ready to start, being ready to brew beer there. They expect to be ready to start brewing in about a month and open as soon as possible after that. So we wanted to come in on the license transfer sooner than later. There's a plan in the file showing their licensed premises. It's the entire building except for one area, which is going to be occupied by a whiskey distillery that's will have a manufacturing permit, so obviously the licensed premises have to remain separate. And then finally, the last thing in the file is, as I said, the letter from the Medfield Community Association in support.
These 3 gentlemen are the ones who've been operating it all along.
They've been operating it all along. They have never had a violation. They're familiar with the rules and regulations of the liquor board. Everyone in the tap room, all of the alcohol will be served from the tap room, not elsewhere within the premises, and everyone who's serving alcohol will take the alcohol awareness course.
Commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
Just one thing, of course, the health permit expired. Is that being, for the new location, all of that's being part of?
It'll all be part of the permitting for the new location, yeah.
Thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the proffers from council, all the exhibits which we have received this morning, and whatever testimony there was, I would vote to approve the transfer of the location.
I vote to approve the transfer as well.
I vote to approve too, and the chairman will kick me under the table, but thank you for your investment in the city and for the jobs and it's enormous, and it's appreciated, at least by us.
Thank you. I guess he's running for something.
I'm running away from Mr. Kadensky's hugs.
Thank
you
you
already
all.
promised one, though. Thank you.
Call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, email support from Randy Domus of Medfield Community Association dated April 3rd, 2018. Board Exhibit, Applicant Exhibit 1, business plan. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we now move to case number 9 on the AM docket. Anthony Chimino and Diane Hicks, Bomber Grill of Baltimore, Inc., trading as Indigma, 801 North Charles Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license, a request for hardship extension. Please come forward.
Would you raise your right hands, please?
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Are you Mr. Cheminor?
Yes, I'm Anthony Cheminor, and my wife Ann Cheminor here to request the court to extend our hardship.
Good afternoon. I see your letter that you had a fire and the building is under repair. When do you think it'll be able to open again?
They're saying a few more months.
A few more months?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
No questions.
Okay. On the basis then of your letter and other materials here in your testimony this morning, I'd vote to approve the hardship extension.
I vote to approve the hardship extension
Thank
as
you
well.
so much.
Good luck.
I vote to approve the hardship extension too.
I'm sorry.
Thank
I thought you had already said that. I apologize.
Gotten Commissioner.
No.
I was afraid you were going to make a speech again.
And you're right to cut me off.
Robert Main, contract purchaser, 1225 Cathedral Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license, a request for hardship extension. Please come forward.
Please raise your right hand, sir.
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Are you Mr. Main?
I am.
Mr. Hurdle, we have a letter from you saying the building was recently purchased and you're looking for a tenant?
Correct. I do want to make a correction to that letter. I think that letter indicated that it closed in September, and I do apologize. I spoke with the previous tenant, and one of the things we have today, and let me give a copy to Stacy first, is a copy of the tax filings of the previous occupant business. And they filed taxes through October. They were open for a very short time in October. You have a couple copies for the commissioners. It wasn't necessarily on a daily basis. It was very brief, just to kind of keep things running. In addition, I do have a copy of the warranty deed. It's from December, when Mr. Main, or the entity that he's a part of, took over at the property.
Okay, and I'm sorry, you're looking for a tenant, any luck?
Yes, we actually are in the process of working through an LOI right now.
Okay.
I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with the location. It's right across from the Orchestra Hall, 1225 Cathedral. It used to be Riley's in Mount Vernon. It's been a couple of, I think it was a couple of fancy places in the past. Beautiful build out this last time. And we're just trying to preserve the license. We don't have to go through the build out process again. Again, the previous build out was such a nice space.
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
No questions.
All right, on the basis then of the various letters from Mr. Hurdle, the materials contained in the application, the proffer and testimony, I vote to approve the hardship extension.
I also vote to approve the hardship extension.
I concur.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. We'll be excused.
Thank you.
I'd call exhibits for the record. Licensee Exhibit 1, tax filing. Exhibit 2, warranty deed. Thank you.
Emmaus Abe and Amaz Nagash, HNY Entertainment LLC, trading as Charm City Life Club, 407 East Saratoga Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license, a request to transfer hardship extension.
Good.
Please come forward.
Is this your client?
It is.
Would you raise your right hand, ma'am, please?
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Your name, ma'am? You're Almaz Nagash. Thank you.
Good
Mr.
afternoon.
Maslin, you've been very patient. I hope
Yes.
we've entertained you this
I'd
morning.
proffer to the board that what occurred here was the plumbing system froze, pipes burst, and as a result of that, all the plumbing had to be replaced. There was substantial delays getting permits from the fire department because the entire sprinkler system needed to be revamped, and it put their project back several months. They've overcome that now, but we're running up against a deadline, and just as an abundance of caution, we'd like an extension of time to complete everything. I anticipate completion within 30 days, but we'd like the full 180, just to be safe.
Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
No questions?
All right, on the basis then of the materials contained in the application, including Mr. Maslin's letter of March 5, his proffer this morning, I would vote to approve the hardship extension.
I concur.
I
Thank
vote to
you.
approve as well.
See you at 1 o'clock.
Chairman, it's 90 days.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
sorry, 90 days.
He
That's
did
fine.
misspeak. I assume
I
he
did.
knew better than that.
Additional 90 days. Thank you.
90 days, that's good.
All the time is great. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we get a bill or something? Thank you.
Keith Clampett, Joseph Berger Jr., and Craig Zissel, Hilton Management Liquor LLC, trading as Hilton Baltimore, 401 West Pratt Street. This is a Class B hotel motel beer, wine, and liquor license. A request for a transfer hardship extension. Please come forward.
Would you raise your right hand, sir, please?
I swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Counsel?
Thank you. Leanne Schreckengost with Royston, Muller, McLean, and Reed here on behalf of the applicants. Unfortunately, we thought we were going to be all done last week. We've had some major issues with the building permit issue. As you know, this is a very large hotel. Getting the health permits and the health inspections and the fire inspections have been quite the challenge. They have been completed. They were approved. It took us 4 weeks to get them to sign off in the system before we could get building in. Building comes out and says, oh, now you need multifamily dwelling to come in and do your inspection. That was another month to get them to come out. Building has come out, approved. They issue a use and occupancy permit without live entertainment and without the outdoor seating, which was in part of our use description. So we are now back to starting over again. We are hoping that we don't have to go through all the inspections. We are contacting the inspectors directly to try to get that added to the use and occupancy permit. If the board recalls, this was approved just because of an internal reorganization. None of the operations have changed at the hotel. We did internal reorganization, had to drop down an entity, and so it's an entity below the current licensed entity that's having to get all these new licenses and permits. So we're here seeking an additional 90 days to wrap up our use and occupancy permit.
And you, sir, are Mr. Clamp?
No, my name is Gary Nelson. I'm the Assistant Director of Finance for the Hilton Baltimore.
Okay. The commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
It strikes me whether, with all those issues, whether our agency can be of help in navigating something like this. I don't know. It's a separate conversation, but I have no other question. I have no questions.
So they issued the wrong use and occupancy permit?
They issued it without the live entertainment and outdoor seating.
They can't revise it?
We have requested no, because they didn't put it in. They claim that it was not put in beginning. We have an email correspondence that was confirming that this is being applied, because they have a new online system. It's now not done manually anymore.
God bless America.
Yeah, it's actually, if you can get the inspections and the sign-offs, it is beneficial. It's much improved over the old system. It just has not worked to our benefit in this situation. It has worked to the benefit of many of my other clients,
But you
so I
think
don't
in the
want
next 90 days?
Yes.
Okay, commissioners?
No questions.
All right, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, council's letter of March 19, the proffer and testimony this morning, I vote to approve the extension.
I vote to approve the extension as well.
I vote to approve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
So, Mr. Page, is that the morning document? Are we,
It does conclude with the.
do they want to come back?
With the exception.
Just the attorneys.
Off the record?
Yes.
They'll be back on the record. But
Yeah, we're prepared, our side's prepared to go forward. The other side's still independently talking on their own, so I don't know.
Do we just want to wait until the afternoon document?
Let's see what the lawyers
Sure,
say.
my problem is this, I have a 1:30 appointment with the federal prosecutor's office.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
don't like to make those guys upset. So,
Did you do
I've been in
something
federal court
again?
all day yesterday. I certainly don't go to back today, but I have to be in there at 1:30. That's my only problem with my schedule. So let me see if we can.
Which one was this?
Wasn't it number 8?
Yep.
Okay. That's why I can't find it.
Number 7. Oh, number 7. Right, Annapolis Road.
Yes, okay. I mean, we can bring it back.
Yeah. Right.
We here next week?
No, not the 12th, 19th and 26th.
We've talked to you about the 26th.
Gentlemen.
Paige, you want to recall the matter?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. John Barnhart, Lansdowne Liquors, Inc., trading as Boozman Bar and Lounge, 3360 Annapolis Road. This is a Class D beer, wine, and liquor license. An application to transfer ownership and location of a Class D beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 2511 East Fayette Street, moving to 3360 Annapolis Road, with delivery of alcoholic beverages. Please come forward.
I believe everyone's still under oath. Counsel, have you made any progress?
Your Honor, we have proposed that if someone were to enter the establishment and buy at least $15 of food, we would not object to that person having off-sale alcohol purchases. I believe that has been rejected.
Our proposal is quite simple. I think we've severely limited the business to a point where they might not be able to be financially viable in agreeing that if you buy something off the menu, you are then permitted to buy alcohol. Otherwise, you are not. I think that is far beyond reasonable in this case, and quite frankly, I don't want to get into a discussion of $14.99 versus $15.01.
Well, are there a lot of items on the menu that are below the $15 range?
If you want to buy a meal, you can do so for one person for $12.
Right, there are a lot of items below 50.
There are, yes.
So if someone's to buy a six-pack and a dinner, I don't feel like forcing them to buy a side of coleslaw to get over the 50. Again, I think it is arbitrary. And I'm not trying to negotiate on negotiations.
I understand you didn't like the proposal. Okay, commissioners have questions?
Also, we kind of structured the menu so it would, benefit the community. So it is affordable for everyone.
And I was told that it was council only that should come in here, but if there's a decision that's going to be made, I should bring my client in.
Okay, but that's just fine. I'm finding out if the commissioners are ready.
So, Mr. Harrington, let me make sure I understand. Why, I thought when you were before us earlier, that we made some progress with respect to if someone came into the restaurant to purchase food. Can you give me some understanding of why the $15 threshold came up?
My client's position has always been they do not want off-premises alcohol sale. The applicant proposed that if they purchase some type of food, that would be a requirement. I've discussed that with my client, and they're concerned about the purchase of token items, token food items, a bag of potato chips, a small piece of coleslaw. And on account of that, they thought it would be token food purchases, and they want to prevent that.
So other than the items on those menus, what food items are proposed to be sold?
What is going to be sold at the establishment is on that menu, and let me play devil's advocate for a second. If there are so many other liquor stores and available establishments in the area which buy alcohol, as the protestants claim, then why would someone spend an unnecessary dollar at my client's establishment? This is a far beyond reasonable requirement. Again, with the hours, too, these are troubles with community associations where even if we solve this problem, I think there's going to be another problem behind that. They came in, the councilman was kind enough today to come in and say, we don't want this to be a liquor store. We've fashioned it so, in fact, it is a restaurant. They will be, in fact, having a de facto B license. I'm not sure what else.
I should get my client.
That's fine.
That's fine.
And that would be petitioner's case.
Yes.
Councilman?
They have a concern is that,
They being
the community is that if Ed Reisker goes in, they're going to have a bar. There's a bar on there, okay, and it has limited carry-out. It's on the diagram. So you sit at the bar, you can get a cheeseburger or whatever, and then at the bar and say, okay, I want a cheeseburger, but I want a case of beer to go out. So I'm not going to get into negotiation with the cost is or anything like that, but there's an integrity issue here and a concern, a trust factor, as far as I'm concerned, with the establishment. The owner, the one owner that spoke, he's going to be absenteeism because he's not going to be there. So who are they going to speak to? The other thing that upset with me, with the attorney, and I'm not trying to be rude, is that when they went out there to talk, he just wanted to talk to the lawyer. He testified earlier, the attorney, that the community didn't want to speak to them. Here he came out, their attorney, okay, and just wanted to talk to the community's attorney. And I asked him, I said, why don't you talk to the community? You're looking down at these people and you can't testify. He came back in here. Now he wants to renegotiate a deal when he should have been out there with the community's lawyer representing his client to work out a deal instead of coming in here saying, okay, this is what we want.
Mr. Chairman, this is exactly why I don't get into negotiations with councilmen like this when he's yelling at me across the hallway. You're going to do things open and honest. You're going to talk to me. That's why.
That's not what I said.
talk
You're
to
lying.
council.
All right.
Again, I don't want to get into this. Again, with the integrity issue, you're going to be there. This is your business, your operation. You're retiring from United Airlines to do this. Is that correct?
So, well, I mean, he raised a good point, though. Who is managing daily?
He is the 100%
All right.
owner, operator, manager retiring from United Airlines.
And what about his associate that,
He's just helping out with the business. He has no ownership interest whatsoever.
is he going to be managing the
No,
property?
he will be there whenever. You'll be open 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. Is that correct? Again, I'm not sure
I
where
couldn't hear
that.
his testimony, so you have to go over
Your
there.
testimony is yes. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, yes.
All right, so is anything further?
Nothing further for the petitioners.
No, anything more you want to say?
I really believe they are very dishonest people, very dishonest.
Okay. Nothing more for us.
Okay. Commissioners? All right, on the basis of the materials contained in the application, the testimony that we've received this morning and the exhibits, I'm not satisfied that the potential effect on existing, the potential community or uniqueness of the services and products outweighs the impact the license would have on the health, safety, and welfare of the community. I think that you needed to reach a negotiated settlement, and you didn't, and I'm not prepared to vote in favor of the transfer. Commissioners?
I agree. I think there needs to be some type of agreement.
So the way I look at this is a transfer of ownership is one thing, a transfer of location is another issue. And the statute sets forth some specifics that we have to make that decision based upon. I don't think there is based upon the opposition and the unfortunate failed efforts to reach a resolution, I don't think there is a public need and desire. We have councilmen, we have 46th legislative district, we have community associations, we have churches that have all opposed. There's been testimony about the number of license holders in the area and how they would be impacted or potentially impacted, as well as if we get to the commonality, the restaurant piece could be unique, but we couldn't get a deal. So I don't know that the liquor component under the proposed deal could have made this unique, but that didn't occur. And then there's also in the record, it wasn't testified to, but in our notes there was some information based upon the impact on the health, safety, and welfare of the community with debris, trash, allegedly drunk drivers. And so for those reasons, I would not approve the transfer of this location.
Yeah, I concur with Commissioner Greenfield, but Mr. Barnhart, I will say this to you. I would deny the transfer without prejudice. If you can reach some accommodation with the association and you want to bring it back before us, I'd be willing to hear you again.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, once it's denied in today's proceedings, he cannot file an application until 6 months from now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could be clear on that, Mr. Chairman, you left open a motion for reconsideration, it would sound like?
If I have the authority to do that, I would do it. I might need to take a look at what.
Again, my modest reading of the law doesn't seem perhaps the board could hold it sub curia.
Oh, yeah, we'd oppose that.
Well, I'll hold it sub curia. I don't know if the other commissioners will. I don't think either of you gentlemen have been very helpful today, I have to tell you.
I concur with the chairman.
Yeah, I concur with the chairman as well.
We'll hold it.
We'll hold it sub curia.
Thanks, Chairman.
Is that the morning docket?
We have some exhibits. Are you ready? Okay. I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, menu. Applicant Exhibit 2, letter of support, 67 in total. Applicant Exhibit 3, petition of support. Applicant Exhibit 4, letter of support from Mount Winans West Point Community dated March 12, 2018. Applicant Exhibit 5, floor plan. Applicant Exhibit 6, map of liquor license establishments in the area. Applicant Exhibit 7, aerial map. Board Exhibit 1, letter of opposition dated March 8, 2018 from the Maryland General Assembly. Board Exhibit 2, petition of opposition from Lakeland Community Association. Board Exhibit 3, 6 letters of opposition from the community. Board Exhibit 4, letter dated 2/7/2018 from Councilman Edward Reisinger. Community Exhibit 1, letter in opposition from Carrie Eugene dated March 3rd, 2018. Thank you.
Does that conclude the morning docket?
It does, Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
we'll
Thank you.
Recess until
1:30.
1:30. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, actually,
Please.
Yeah, thanks. What's up first? Uso, Nuoso. I think so. But how much fun is it, Bryson, if we tell you ahead of time?
Write their names down.
You ready, Bryson? Mr. Page?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. Now begins the PM session of the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. First case on the PM docket, Yuzu Wasu Obafu Wandike Uzo LLC, trading as Goodfellas Lounge, 4919 Bel Air Road. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.05A, prohibited hours on December the 3rd, 2017. Violation of Rule 4.05B, prohibited hours on December the 3rd, 2017. Please come forward.
Thank you. Will all those who are going to testify raise their right hands, please?
Raise your right hands, please. You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
For the record, Melvin J. Kanansky representing the licensees.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kanansky. Will this be admissions or denials?
I'll be denials.
Okay. So who's going to testify on behalf of the police or the board? Detective?
On 3rd
Excuse
December.
me, can you identify yourself for the record?
Detective L.C. Greenhill, Vice.
Thank you.
On 3rd September of 2017, or 3rd December 2017, between the hours of 02:30 and 02:35, Myself, along with Investigator Reiner of Baltimore Housing and Inspector Dale Holmes of the Baltimore City Fire Marshal's Office, conducted an investigation into after-hours operation at 4919 Bel Air Road, which trades as Goodfellas Lounge. Chief Inspector Fossler and Liquor Agent Chris Malice were not present at the time due to the fact they were checking out another after-hours location on the west side of town.
I'll check, that's really
All right,
extra material that's not important there.
Inspector Fossler and Liquor Agent Chris Malice of the Liquor Board advised myself that the Liquor Board had received numerous citizen complaints from the community in and around the area of 4919.
I'll object as to that also, but you'll take it for what it's worth, I'm sure.
will.
The complaints state that the location identified as Goodfellas Lounge was consistently open past 2 a.m., mostly on weekends. The complaints also states that patrons take up most of the parking in the area of Valley View and Bel Air Road. On this particular morning of December 3rd, 2017, between the hours mentioned, members of the Social Club Task Force, consisting of Investigator Reiner, Inspector Holmes, Detective Greenhill, responded to the location, Goodfellas. As Investigator Reiner, Inspector Holmes went to the rear door of the establishment. I went to the front door of the business to find the front door locked. I looked through the window to see a few patrons inside the establishment. I knocked to see if someone would open the door, but no one seen or noticed me knocking on the front door. I called Investigator Reiner by cell phone and advised him that there were patrons inside the establishment. At that time, 2 to 3 patrons opened the rear door of the establishment where Investigator Reiner and Inspector Holmes were waiting, one of which was holding a half-drink bottle of Heineken beer as he exited the rear of the establishment. Investigator Reiner and Inspector Holmes entered the location of Goodfellas Lounge. Investigator Reiner entered the booth and observed still drinking alcohol beverages scattered throughout the lounge. Investigator Reiner observed 4 patrons sitting in a booth, still drinking the beverages. Investigator Reiner observed an empty bottle of Hennessy and an additional bottle of Hennessy that was roughly 3/4 empty. At that time, Detective Greenhill entered the establishment from the rear and observed the patrons sitting in the booth, one of which I recognize as one of the licensees, Mr. Uzo Nowuso. Detective Greenhill also observed the various alcoholic beverages still sitting in various tables, as well as the booth where the patrons and the licensee, Mr. Nowuso, was sitting. At that time, the other licensee, can't pronounce the first name, appeared from a rear kitchen area. Detective Green asked why the bar was still open. Mr. Awandaniki became hostile and argumentative, stating that these were his friends and they were waiting on food, referring to the people in the booth along with a few patrons that was observed leaving minutes prior. Detective Greenhill observed no food being brought out during the 5 to 10 minutes we were on the scene. Detective Greenhill advised Mr. Awandaniki that I wasn't going to engage in an argument with him. I was simply going to write it up and let the liquor board deal with the situation. At that time, myself, Investigator Reiner, and Inspector Holmes left the establishment in the control of the licensees already present on the premises. Detective Greenhill notified Liquor Agent Chris Malice, who was with Chief Inspector Fossler, who were en route to Goodfellas Lounge, and advised him that we found the lounge in operation at 02:35 hours, with a few patrons still inside drinking alcoholic beverages. Detective Greenhill advised them both that we were leaving, and I was writing up for the bar violations observed. For the investigation, myself, Investigator Reiner, along with Chief Inspector Fossler, Liquor Agent Chris Malice, as well as various inspectors with the Liquor Board, were familiar with the after-hour operation complaints at the establishment known as Goodfellas Lounge. Vice units, as well as Liquor Board inspectors and Housing Authority investigators, has conducted several visits over the past year concerning the after-hour complaints at the establishment
I'll
known as
object to that
Goodfellas.
testimony. That's not relevant to that night.
I'm sorry, what was the testimony again?
Something about it in the past, they had done some things in the past there, but
Basically, we responded to the location in the past
That's
with the
fine.
same complaints.
I agree, it's not relevant to the violation.
All right. Liquor Board inspectors has conducted numerous visits. on their own concerning the after-hours complaints. Members of the Social Club Task Force will continue to conduct checks and inspections concerning the complaints that come out for the establishment known as Goodfellas Lounge.
Mr. Cadency, you have questions for the
Yeah,
detective?
and who were the patrons? Do you have their names?
No,
Why didn't you get their names?
because at that time, it wasn't necessary for me to identify them.
Well, how do you know they were patrons then?
They weren't staff. They didn't have nothing.
Well, no,
They
no.
didn't have
How did
nothing.
you know they weren't
didn't-
staff?
They didn't have nothing to identify themselves as employees.
Well, I'm asking you, if you didn't ask them who they were, how would you know who they are?
Well, Mr. Kadensky, under the rule that he's charged with, it doesn't matter.
No, but what you're saying is that there were patrons in there. The question is whether there were sales, consuming, distribution of alcohol. Did you see any sales of alcohol?
You referring to me or to the board?
No, to you. I mean, the board's not,
Sales doesn't appear in the rule either.
It's consuming
It's
alcohol.
to whether you permit a person to consume or whether it's served.
All right, did you see anybody get served alcohol?
No.
And when you said consuming, who were the people that were consuming alcohol?
As I said, they were just patrons inside the place. I didn't identify them.
You actually saw them consuming.
They had beer and alcoholic beverages on the table. Did I see them consuming? No.
Okay.
Again, I was outside
No,
waiting to
got
get inside because no one would open up the front door for
Everybody
me.
thinks what I do is easy here. You didn't say anybody, it's easy. You didn't say anybody consuming.
I
No,
understand.
No, I'm not. You did just.
I get the point, Mr.
Okay.
Kadensky.
All right. Now, the person you saw, or did you see the person that had the half bottle of Heineken? Did you see him or was it somebody else?
As I eventually came around to the rear, I did see a gentleman with a half bottle of Heineken in his hand walk out.
But he wasn't consuming it.
But it was open, and he wasn't consuming it. No, it wasn't. But
All right.
at the
That's
same
it.
time, it's still
Did
a
you know
violation.
if he worked there or he didn't work there?
Oh, he didn't work there. He was a patron.
How do you know he was a patron?
For one thing, he didn't have anything to identify himself as a staff of the place.
If I told you his name was Alishi Notek and that he was visiting from Atlanta and he was working there helping clean up, that wouldn't make any difference to you.
Well, do you normally have people dressed up in
No,
clothing to
I
go
don't
out to
answer
clubs
questions. I just ask
to
them.
work there?
But Mr. Kadensky, the rule includes employees.
They have to be consuming.
Well, that's a different issue than whether he worked there.
Right. But you don't have the names of anybody except the two licensees.
That's correct.
And was there another person in there? Do you see, this young lady here, do you remember seeing her?
It's a possibility she was in there. Again, I wasn't paying attention. I just
Did you
observed
see them?
patrons.
Did you see them? But you say they're patrons, but you don't know who they are.
No.
Okay. And did she see her cleaning up, putting anything in a barrel that had drinks in it, old discarded drinks? You didn't see that?
Nope, didn't see a barrel with discarded drinks.
How long would you think you were in there?
For the time we was in there, I would say about 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, if I told you it was probably less than 5 minutes, would that be about right?
It could be, you're right, it could be less than 5 minutes.
Okay. And the fire department was there? Somebody from the fire department?
Yes,
Who was there from the fire department?
Inspector Holmes.
And his purpose was to,
Basically check for fire code violations.
and who did he talk to? You remember?
No.
And did he check on anything else?
When the fire department's on scene, they do their inspections. It's not my job to go behind them and supervise them.
Okay, I got it. And who was there from housing? Well, you just raised your hands, but I'm asking, do
You can identify him, and then he'll get a
you know
chance
what his
to-
name is?
Investigator Dan Rayner,
Okay. And why was he there?
to basically inspect and conduct his investigation as it relates to the housing codes.
So to your best of your knowledge, there were no fire violations issued that night, nor any housing violations?
That I couldn't tell you because, like I said, it's not my job to go behind Inspector Holmes and supervise what he's doing.
One of the best things that you don't know. I have no further questions.
Okay, Mr. Reiner, did you want to testify?
Yes.
Okay. Would you move over to the mic, please? Thank you, Detective.
On December 3rd, 2017, at approximately 2:30 hours, I accompanied the Social Club Task Force consisting of myself, Detective Elsie Greenhill, from Baltimore Police Department Vice Section, and Fire Inspector Holmes from Baltimore Fire Department in response to a complaint of Goodfellas Lounge operating outside of their use permit by operating after hours. Per Baltimore City Housing Building Code, they must close and cease operations by 2 a.m. Upon arrival, I observed numerous cars in the rear parking pad, which led me to believe that the property was occupied. I responded to the rear of the property where I watched 6 males exit the rear of the property. I attempted to enter the location, and the door was shut, preventing me from entering the property. I waited approximately 3 or 4 minutes for the patrons to disperse. I then knocked, and the door was opened, to which an unidentified male was carrying a half-drank bottle of Heineken beer, and I gained access to the property. Upon entrance to the property, I saw various half-empty alcoholic beverages scattered around the lounge. Additionally, 4 patrons were still seated and drinking alcohol in a booth. Visible on the tabletop was an empty bottle of Hennessy, and an additional bottle of Hennessy, roughly 3/4 empty. At this time, the bar manager emerged from the rear of the lounge, advising that all of these people were employees. He then advised me that they were all his friends and that he does not operate after hours. Photographs taken at the scene do show patrons sitting with open containers in the booth inside. I brought the photographs with me if the board would like to review those.
Yeah, why don't you offer those? Show Mr. Kudensky first, please.
Sure. Oh, my apologies.
You can hold those if you want to ask questions about them, and then we'll, do you want them for questioning?
Yeah. Who were did you get the names of anybody?
I did not.
Is that usual when you would go to a place you would get names of people?
I don't have the power to force anyone to identify
But
themselves.
did you ask them their names?
No, I didn't think.
Okay, that's fine. The answer to that question is no. And the people that were leaving, you didn't ask them any of their names either.
No.
The fellow you saw with a half bottle of Heineken at the back door, where did he go? Do you know?
As soon as I entered the property, I observed him, and he stayed by the door. I believe that's the rear of the property.
Did he have a trash bag with him?
Nope. All he had in his hand was a bottle of Heineken,
And
a
he-
half-empty bottle of Heineken.
And he stayed there the whole time?
I'm not sure where his whereabouts were once I passed him.
And how long you think that you were in there?
Maybe about 10 minutes, roughly.
And when you went through, did you see anybody making any sales of alcohol?
No.
Okay. So you indicated you saw some people sitting around. Do you know who the people were drinking, if that was important?
They all had drinks in front of them, as well as 2 open bottles in front of them.
Who was drinking, not the open bottles?
I can't recall.
Did you actually see them drinking out of those containers?
Can't recall.
So you can't recall whether you were seeing them drinking out of those containers. Did you see anybody cleaning up?
I can't recall.
And did you go back and talk to anybody?
A person that identified themselves as the manager came from the rear, advised me that at first that these were his employees, and then said they were his friends. I didn't identify anyone beyond that.
And did you go with the fire department to go talk and check on the licenses? Or you just, what was your function after that?
I didn't check on the license. The use permit's not required to be posted per Baltimore City Code. I've been in the property before, so I'm aware of what their license stipulates. So my violation was found that there were people inside of the property.
The violation is because they're inside the property?
They were inside of the property past operating hours.
So they can't be in here cleaning up? You're under oath now. Tell me, can they be in there cleaning up?
They can be in there cleaning up.
Okay, fine. And after hours means after 2 o'clock?
That is correct.
5 o'clock in the morning, can they be in there?
Yes,
After 2 o'clock, they could be in there cleaning up?
that is correct.
Did you see anybody cleaning up? See any place where they could put trash or so forth, a barrel in the middle of the room?
I did not see anybody actively cleaning up.
Did you see the barrel in the middle of the room?
I don't recall a barrel in the middle of the room.
Okay. And when you left, the 3 of you left together?
That is correct.
I guess he wants to offer these. I'm not.
Thank you. Okay, anything further?
Nothing.
And we'll hold off on you, okay. Did you want to offer evidence, Mr. Kudensky?
We have a video of what happened and how many people came in, how long it took. And I think it'd be important that the board look at it based on what was testified to here.
You mean, when you say people came in, you mean these
Yeah,
gentlemen?
the 3 came in when they were there and when they left.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to, guess you have to get closer to. Well, first of all, give your name and address, because you're the one here.
Excuse me. Uzan Wasil, 1217 Roxborough Road, Baltimore 21237.
And you were there that night?
Yes.
And this is a video of when they came in and when they left, is that
Yes.
correct? And how long does your video indicate that they were in there?
2.5 minutes.
All right, go ahead, and, you gotta explain, does anybody wanna go on the other side and take a look? I'm asking on them, not, because they're in it, I've seen it.
I have two camera angles. One shows the general area of the bar, and the other one shows the bar itself.
Okay. I'll do it. Let my colleagues see.
It has a time date generator on the top, if you saw it. I think it's over. You can show the other angle.
Let's share this the second one.
Now, you were there the night, the 3 people came in, is that right?
Yes, I
correct?
was.
And there were people in the establishment, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And what were they doing?
I had Candace cleaning up. Rock was in the kitchen. I was with my girlfriend, and Olisa, my friend from Atlanta.
All right, and was anybody consuming alcohol after 2 o'clock?
No.
All right, and in the video, you see the young lady, she was cleaning up, that barrel was, you were throwing things in the barrel?
Yes.
Is that correct? And the fellow the person you mentioned from Atlanta, was the one that was taking things out?
Yes.
The trash in the bag?
Yeah, because of the weight of the bags, he was helping her out.
Got a statement from, because they're in Atlanta, I couldn't Skype, you don't have Skype facilities here. Back up, please. Yet. Oh. What time, how long does it take you generally, when you're cleaning up to, finish?
We do our last call at 1:30. By the time people leave out, pay everybody. So we're usually there between, 3 o'clock.
You're finished?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
Because we are advised by pest control to make sure we remove all drinks and all food before we go for the night.
All right. And during that time after 2 o'clock, what are the functions of the various staff? What are they supposed to be doing?
Cleaning up, make sure everything is cleaned up, make sure there's no food left around, pay the bartenders. The lady behind the bar was actually eating her dinner when they walked in, and the other lady in the picture, Camry, is also a bartender. So she's the one standing, and I'm in the booth there.
All right. And when behind the bar was generally when the fire inspector came and
Yeah.
he
When,
came.
when they came in, he was in the kitchen running up, and the fire inspector asked the bartender to call him. And she kind of didn't understand, so she came in and got this gentleman from the kitchen.
And that's him in the picture talking to the
Yes.
fire inspector.
Yes.
Showing him the permits. Is
Yes,
that correct?
yes.
So there was nobody consuming alcohol?
No.
Okay.
No.
Board, any questions?
I don't know, commissioners have questions?
I do. Do you dispute this picture at all?
No, I don't.
You don't?
I don't.
And your time to close is 2 a.m., is that right?
That's correct, sir.
And so at 2:30 a.m., you don't dispute that, around 2:30 a.m., that this picture was taken by the housing inspector?
No, I don't. I don't.
Thank you.
And to follow up that, but nobody was consuming alcohol at that time.
No.
They're waiting to clean up.
No, and that's me in the picture there.
No, it's you in the picture. And then the barrel that you see in the middle of the Ford is where
Yeah,
you're
that's
putting
when
things.
she was clearing the bottles and putting them in.
Okay.
Because if you notice, the entire bar is already cleaned out, and the area behind the bar, so she was making her way to the other sections where the booths are.
Let me ask you a follow-up. So
Yes.
the two camera angles that you showed in the video, they didn't seem to capture at least the pictures that the inspector provided. Are there other, does that camera, I assume those camera angles don't capture the entire?
No, not the entire.
All right, so the other question I have so far is, if I heard the housing inspector correctly, there was a person in the back that had opened the door and that's how he entered. Is that?
Yes, that is correct.
I thought I heard you say that it was a gentleman that was it a man or a female? A male or female?
My recollection that it was a male.
Okay, so then the question I have for you, sir, is this email, is this person Olisa, is that a male or a female?
It's a male. He's a male.
Oh, that is a male, okay.
He's a male.
Okay, and housing inspector, you don't recall whether that individual had a trash bag?
I don't. The only thing I can say in 100% certainty was the half-drank bottle of beer in his hand.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner, you have anything? Were you here on disposition or on the facts? Okay. Okay. Anything else?
No. No, you're up. State your name and address for the record, please.
Namso Okonkwo, 1427
You gotta
Claridge
speak a little
Road.
better than that, then nobody's gonna know who you are. Go ahead.
What's the name?
Namso Okonkwo,
Can you spell that for me?
Nomso
Nomso.
Okonkwo.
And you were there that night? Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
And what was your function? What did you do that night?
Basically, I run the place down the night. When it closes, they give me, the bartenders gives me their paperwork, then I goes in the kitchen, go through it while the cleaning up is going. So I was actually in the kitchen counting the bank and then the paperwork when they called me out.
Who called you?
It's a young lady.
And what did she want you to do?
She say the city guy or city police something. He say, I said, who? Then I came outside from the kitchen. I met Mr. Holmes before the gentleman came through to me. So I said, what's going on? You know, he said, after hour.
Did you ask for any fire permits at the time?
Yeah, he asked me, you know, so I gave it to him. He looked at it and then handed it back to me.
And they left?
And he walked away.
Okay. All right. Was anybody consuming alcohol during that time?
No, it was already closed. I've been cleaning up. We start from behind the bar area all the way towards the back door, where the dumpster is. So if you notice on the camera and the video, nothing, the bar's already cleaned out. The floor's already cleaned out, except towards the ending where they were sitting there. So that goes towards the back door where the dumpster is. And the trash can that's on the middle of the floor, that's, you know, she, after pouring the liquid in a bucket, she throws it in that. Right.
I have no questions. Do you?
I don't have any questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. You gotta speak up now, say your name and address.
Candace Holmes, 5905 Plummer Avenue.
Candace
Yes, Candace.
Holmes.
Yes, HOLMES.
And you're the young lady that you see in the video, is that correct?
Yes,
And what do? You work there and you clean up after 2 o'clock?
yes,
Is that what you were doing? They see you walking by there?
yes,
And there's that barrel there, is that where you put any half open or closed bottles that have been used in there for cleanup?
yes. After I empty them out.
Okay, and there were people sitting in the booth, is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Uzo was in the booth and so forth. Was anybody consuming alcohol at that time?
No,
And then when they were there, did any of the people that came in, did anybody talk to you, and the people that came in from any of the agencies, either the police officer or anybody else talk to you?
no,
Nobody asked you what you were doing?
no,
Nobody asked you who you were?
no,
Nobody asked you if you worked there?
no.
How long have you worked there?
Since 2014.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Commissioners have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Other evidence?
That's it.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So,
And can I just, maybe a little closing?
yes, sure, go
All
ahead.
right. I think at this point here, there's no evidence of anybody consuming any alcohol. Yeah, Detective Green referred to the other inspector. He says he didn't remember and couldn't say for sure if they were consuming. So you don't have the consumption of alcohol after hours. What you have is 3 people came in. They said they were 5 to 10 minutes. You saw the video. That's more conclusive daytime. It was, I think, 2 minutes and 40 seconds because I looked at it twice. You have, nobody takes a name of anybody. And it gets to be a point where you would like somebody to say, is you're a patron. I'm the patron of the arts. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You don't even know who I am. It's easy. It wasn't like there was 100 people in there. It was easy to find it. You know, Miss, what are you doing? What's your name? What are you doing? What's your name? You know? And in this case here is that there's no doubt, and the best evidence that you have here, that nobody saw anybody consuming any alcohol based on all the testimony that you have here. Was there some open bottles and things? Yes. Their processes to start at the bar, make their way back and go. And you saw the barrel there. You saw them putting things in the barrel. So, I mean, you just can't take a quantum leap and say that they can't be there for purposes of cleaning up and go forward.
Anything further?
I just think the evidence and the testimony speaks for itself.
Okay. So, the licensees are charged with violations of 4.05A and B, so let's take them one at a time. Under A, the rule says that a licensee may not permit a person, including an employee, patron, family member of an employee, or agent of the licensee, to consume alcoholic beverages on the licensed premises after hours, essentially. And Section B says alcoholic beverages may not be served, dispensed, furnished, or given away in any part of the premises after hours. So the evidence that we have here, there's no direct evidence of consumption. There is circumstantial evidence of consumption. One, Mr. Reiner saw someone leaving out the back with a half bottle of beer in his hand. Detective Greenhill saw people sitting around a table, not the bar, with half-empty containers, and we have a photo to corroborate that. The respondents, or the licensees and their employees, state that no one was actually consuming alcohol, and it's pretty obvious from the video that people were cleaning up the premises at that time. But it was after hours, and these folks didn't seem to be moving around other than the young lady here in the video. So I think there's a reasonable inference that can be drawn about the consumption by employees and others at the bar. So I would sustain the violation of 4.05A. As to 4.05B, we don't have any time frame as to when anybody might have served the alcohol that is on this. They could have been there all night long. So I would dismiss the violation of 4.05B.
I agree with the chair's ruling as to 4.05A. I believe these pictures, while not direct evidence of consumption, I do believe that there is a reasonable inference that can be drawn as well that there was alcohol consumption after hours, after 2 a.m., in addition to the testimony of the housing inspector as well. And I agree with the position on 4.05B. We don't know when these drinks may have been purchased or dispensed.
I find a violation of 4.05A, and join my colleagues on that. I do agree that there's a reasonable inference that, based upon the pictures taken by the investigator, and not just the photos, but the fact that Ms. Holmes' testimony was that she started cleaning up at 2 a.m. These pictures were taken around 2:37 a.m., yet there was a group of people still sitting there. I'm not sure why, but I can draw a reasonable inference that they were there consuming what's on the table in the pictures. With respect to 4.05B, I will join my colleagues in not finding a violation.
So would you like to be heard on disposition on A?
I think that in these cases here, and I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old.
Well, that's
I am old.
We all are, Mr.
We should get a name.
Especially today.
I first started doing these, who, where, when, and why. There were the questions nobody asked those questions anymore. Who are you? What are you doing here? Who's your mother-in-law?
You made the point about the patrons, and I agree with you, but the rule doesn't require that they be patrons.
But if they were there on the premises and they were working and cleaning up, I mean, you can go to a big establishment, go to a place that's closed and it has 1,000 people capacity. They may have 40 or 50 people cleaning up, and that at night.
Look, I accept their explanation that they were cleaning up. I think it's clear that at least this young lady was cleaning up. We saw her on the video. And there was no one at the bar, and the lady was eating her soup. So they may very well have been, but there were some stragglers.
But in the best testimony he had, when he asked, he says, I can't say they were consuming. They denied they were consuming. So you got, can't say they were consuming. They said they weren't consuming. So where does that leave you at that point? You then leap over and say, no, the inference is they were consuming.
Your question was, do you have direct evidence of it? You didn't say it that way, but that's what you were asking, and they don't. They have circumstantial evidence.
Well, he didn't say it that way.
Well, but I do.
I know, but I'm saying is that, but then they denied it at that point, then you went the other way.
The detective testified that when he went in, there were half-empty bottles of Hennessy. He said there was a half-empty beer bottle in the man's hand, and those are the manners from which we draw the inference.
But if it was a full bottle there, would you do the same inference?
That might have been a problem if nobody had opened it yet.
Okay, I made my argument.
Okay, but that didn't go to the mitigation. Do you have mitigation?
And mitigation is that, they're, that kind of place where basically you were here before, they try to get the people out of there. They do a big food business there. They have an African food component, and the people stay and they give them food and they leave. If anything, they maybe should be cleaning up faster and getting things off, the tables. But, somebody having a half-empty bottle doesn't mean that he consumed the first part of the bottle. That's why I like to say is, what's the name?
Prove it.
I know. I got it.
I agree. Mr. Hilliard, did you have something to offer?
Well, I would just say your sustaining of the one violation is corroborated by the information you have in front of me from me enumerating a number of complaints from the President Valley Park Community Association.
Which I do not have. I know, but I mean, when.
Take a look if you want.
I'll be glad to provide Mr. Kadinsky with Mike.
Well, you're essentially saying that people in the community association have made complaints in the past. Is that what you're telling us about after-hours activity?
And I would ask the board to impose such penalty to preclude this happening in the future.
Mr. Kennedy, one of the problems is that we have just last September violations for the same rule violations, although you did convince Commissioner Greenfield that your client was not guilty at that time.
I was just a voice crying out in the desert that time.
Well, in fairness, it was only 4.05A that time.
And I wasn't here.
Yeah.
I do have a question to clarify. Is that the It looks like on the other sheet, was there another one in November, or is that just the date is wrong? Is September the most recent one? So on the liquor board system license detail print out sheet.
Oh, I have anything from November.
I just want to make sure.
Says there was a public hearing in November.
Right, so that's why, it's a little confusing. There's a 9/28 public hearing, but what does the November 3rd, 2017 refer to?
It looks like it's got to be the same event because it lists the guilties by Commissioners Moore and Jones and the not guilty by Commissioner Greenfield, which is the same.
So the date is just wrong. Is that when
That's the date that it was inputted.
Okay, just want to make
That's the
sure.
date that it had.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, so,
Can I ask you-
yeah, please, go ahead.
Mr. Kudensky, has your client worked with the community? I mean, I know you just received that document, but this is there are a number of allegations here that I would say can be somewhat serious. And I'm just wondering, to what extent is there some kind of collaboration and communication?
You don't know what they've gone through. They've had meetings.
asking.
They had set up in the establishment. They invited the community there. At one time, like 4 people showed up, and they said every 3 weeks we'll have it. They didn't show up. They just didn't come. He said, I'll meet with you and come here. I think it's disingenuous when this comes and nobody gets a cut. You would think that you would say, somebody would have said to the licensee, what is this about? Can you tell us a little more? And just to come here and put it up there, I don't think that's the way you do it. And are they the one community group, the be-all and end-all? No, they are a community group. They're not the community group. And they have plenty of people, and he'll say something, plenty of other people in that community that feel otherwise. But I understand what you're saying. There's got to be some dialogue. And you want to say something?
Yeah, if I may say something, yeah, I've tried. I have emails to Kim Seelover, who is the community head. I have responses like they don't want to talk to you. Absolutely not. There's one guy, she said, Mr. Robert, we tried so hard. Oh, he works 2 jobs. And after a while, she stopped speaking. I have at least 10 311 calls saying we're open at 8 in the morning. People are fighting. I have all the liquor board reports. 5 p.m. at night, in the evening. Sometimes we're not even open. Liquor board comes out there and nothing. And it's got so bad that honestly right now, it's like a joke. When they come in there, oh, okay, here we go again. It's that bad. There's nothing I could do to prevent those 311 calls. I've reached out to Kim in every way possible till she said, nobody wants to talk to you. And I have the emails to that effect, but I don't have them with me.
Mr. Hilliard, is this something going forward that maybe you can help with this, at least make some effort to bring these parties together?
They come together consistently. And I'm trying to think how to say this nicely. I think the community's position would be they made every effort, and from their viewpoint, the licensee is just really not willing to respond.
So, okay, so we just have a big chasm.
Well, there's one of your letters you offer, Mr. Page did at least, in your, that you have a community mediation center. They've offered that for those services, is that correct?
Yeah. And I have
But, I mean, we
also-
just found that out today about that.
Well, yeah, well, there are other reasons why, but yeah, I think that might be a good,
No, I was at a couple of the meetings. I was there.
Yeah.
I mean, and I said, it just doesn't seem like, they always want to agree to disagree, and that was it, no matter what.
this is my last comment on this. I'm just, this can't continue to sustain, and so there's got to be a path forward, or something's got to give.
I would love.
And so, perhaps there's a way for the parties to be brought together in another forum.
I would love that.
Okay, anything further?
No,
All right, on the, with respect to the violation of Rule 4.05, small a, on December 3, 2017, I would impose a fine of $1,000 and give the licensee 30 days to pay it. And that's based primarily, on the fact that just several months ago, they were fined $500 for the same violation.
I agree with the chair's issuance of the fine of $1,000, and given that there was a hearing and a violation back in September 2017 and 30 days to pay.
I concur with the fine of $1,000 for Rule 4.05A.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department Report, Detective Elsie Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, letter from Hardbell Community Association dated February 9th, 2018. Board Exhibit 3, 4 photos. Board Exhibit 4, letter of testimony. I'm sorry. Licensee Exhibit 1, letter of testimony. Yes.
Kendrick Golden, Ennis Golden, Elite Lounge LLC, trading as Elite Lounge, 1571 Ridgely Street. This is a Class D, a beer, wine, and liquor license, here for violation of Rule 3.08A, sanitation and safety, on December the 15th, 2017. Please come forward.
Would all those who will testify raise their right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, but the truth?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Godin, is Kendrick?
It's Kenrick, Kenrick Golden.
Just wanted to double check. I didn't know if it was.
Mr. Godin, you're charged with a violation of Rule 3.08A on December 15, 2017, apparently with obtaining power from a separate source at the time that the Housing Department was out there. Do you admit or deny the violation?
Yes, I admit the violation.
Okay, do you want to explain to the board what was going on?
Well, a task force came out and they said that I was running illegal electricity, which I was unaware of that. They said I hadn't paid the bill, but my records show that I've been paying the bill as I showed.
You have those records with you?
Yes, I have it on my phone. So once I showed the BG&E guy, he was like, there was something that had to been squared away with the with BG&E. So that was the first thing.
You said, was there someone from the Baltimore Gas and Electric Company there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. What is your name, sir?
Investigator David McGinnis with Baltimore Housing Special Investigation Unit.
Were you there as well?
Yes, sir.
And did Mr. Godin show you all that he had paid his electric bill?
He stated he had paid his electric bill. Again, we received a referral originally from the Baltimore Gas and Electric Theft Unit. They were with us present at the time of the inspection and found that the electric meter had been illegally altered and then removed the meter, forcing the business to be closed at that time.
So, and is it open now?
I don't know if it is open, sir.
Yes, it's been open. It was open after 3 days after they shut us down. Well, actually a week, because I had the main thing.
Did they require you to make some back payment at that
Nope.
time?
They added the credit, what was on the bill.
So this credit shows from October of last year, but this event was in December, so.
Right,
what
so
hap-
apparently I guess it kept.
I don't want to take your phone.
No, that's no problem. Apparently that the money was just in the account, but was not adding it to the account. But I didn't understand it either, so.
But had you altered the mechanism?
No.
But they found
But it was altered. The BG&I guy actually showed me. He took off the meter and showed that somebody actually put something in the BG&E.
One of the problems.
Yes, absolutely. This is the meter with the actual meter off. There are two pieces of copper piping running between, and these actually are the connectors that were causing the service to go. But again, these have been altered with these pieces installed, and as such was getting service without actually having a properly connected BG&E meter. Again, this is the referral we received from BG&E's theft unit.
So, Mr. Godin, back in May of last year, you had the same violation.
No, I was running a generator. They said I couldn't run a generator without a BG&E account.
Okay.
I didn't know that that was wrong to run a generator without a BG&E account.
Okay. Is there anything further?
Yes, sir. We originally received a notice from BG&E's theft unit. We did conduct an inspection, and additional violations were located. According to the original use permit, which was issued back in 2014, the second floor is off limits per the fire department. We found that it was not occupied by customers, but was being used as accessory storage, as well as for storage of the music and equipment for the sound system downstairs. So we did issue a notice for that as
But
well.
they weren't charged with that.
I did issue a notice. On my notice?
But we have not charged.
Okay, under the liquor board. No, it was issued under my notice to.
Those are housing.
Yes, sir. I issued housing notices.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Has a hearing been, has any fine been paid on any housing violations?
I know we had environmental control board. I do not remember the outcome. I do know that my notice has not been abated, so we have not verified that the second floor has been completely emptied and no use permit has been applied for to use that second floor as of today. The electric service was reconnected. I did verify that with BG&E, and the other was for portable electric heaters acting in place of the primary heat source. Again, I have not conducted an additional investigation since then to abate that notice. The only one I can say is the use permit has not been applied for or obtained for the second floor.
Anything further? Commissioners have questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I'm confused, Mr. Godin.
Yes.
Are you, did you say you agree to this violation?
Well, I'm the owner, so I'm responsible for everything there. As I spoke to BG&E, like I'm no, like I don't, you know, everything was intact. When they came there, they had to take it out and show me. I don't know what I was looking. All I did was like, look, I paid my bill, so I've been paying my bill for a while, and it just was a credit on there. So apparently it was turned off. I wasn't aware of it because I still had electricity. If it was off, then I would have knew it was electric. You know, something was wrong. But I kept paying it, and it's been on for a while.
What I don't understand is that this was not the BGE accounts group, but it was the theft group, and so that's why something's disconnected in my brain. Well, I say that often, but something's disconnected here because I don't know why the theft unit's involved. Let me ask you, investor, how would theft occur with a damaged meter?
They were involved because, again, the property had active service, and the property did not have active service, but it appeared to be open, but there was no movement in the meter to indicate any electric being used, but the property was regularly open for business, so that's how it came to the attention of the theft unit, and upon the investigation is found. He may have had a prior credit, but once we did the inspection, found that the meter had been altered. And that's why he still had active service, but he had that credit because no bill was being generated because it wasn't hooked to the meter and the meter was not moving.
Anything further?
I don't have any questions.
Anything else, sir?
No.
Detective, you?
I just wanted to add that on this particular evening also, we had the health department with us. There was a birthday party in operation. Food was being served, but the premises does have a low risk health permits basically with this saying any type of food being served has to include a health permit that's either moderate or high risk, and in this case his health permit for the bar for the establishment is only low risk. We do have a representative from the health department here with us.
Okay, well, did they close them?
No, I did.
Oh, okay.
I closed under because there was no active electric service, so I ordered the business to be closed.
Anything else? All right, on the basis of the evidence presented and the admission by Mr. Godin, I would find a violation of Rule 3.08 small a on December 15, 2017, because there was power being obtained illegally somehow. And I'm having a little bit of difficulty with your credibility, Mr. Godin, because you're not showing us that there's a credit after this date. You're showing it before the date, and
No,
we've got
it was.
the prior violation. That was from October.
No, that's the date that it's been off. But according to the bill, that's how I had to pull it up.
A statement after December 15? mean, I don't know how it's possible that.
Because I've been
that
paying
someone
on the
got
bill.
into your meter and without your knowledge and did whatever this was.
That's why I said I take responsibility. I'm not there 24/7.
I think you might
All
need
I
to
can
be.
do is just eliminate. You know, I can't point the finger and say and assume that this person did it, or assume that. All I can do is just
Well, it is
clear
your
house.
responsibility. I appreciate you
Right.
saying that.
All I can do is clear house, but I proved and I showed. That's why I was never hit with a penalty from BG&E saying it was theft. All they did was just took the credit and added to it, and then turned my electricity on. That was it.
Okay.
But
Well,
as
the
far as
last
anything
time-
else, it was the food, from what I understand, which was I was closed down for. That's
Well, I don't know, that's not the testimony here, but we don't have jurisdiction with respect to the health issues, so.
right.
So having found the violation, and you had a violation of the same rule back in May of last year, there was a $625 fine imposed and a week of suspension. I would impose a $1,000 fine and give you 30 days to pay it, but I have to tell you that if you do it again, I think you may very well be closed down. But that's up to the other commissioners as well.
Question for you, how long was he closed?
I don't know. I don't know how long he was closed. I did speak to BG&E's commercial customer service approximately a week later, and he had reconnected service.
I agree with the chair's finding of $1,000 for violating Rule 3.08A, and I agree this is the third time within a, well, excuse me, this is the second time within a year. So we do not want to see you back here again.
I
for the
just
same
agree with
violation.
it was the first time because I never was charged with any kind of illegal electricity. I was running a generator.
It's the same rule violation.
It's the same rule violation, that's what I'm
okay.
referring to.
Because I just want to note that I wasn't running no illegal electricity the first time.
Well, the first time, we don't necessarily need to cover that, although that dealt with something that, as I recall, was much more significant in terms of fire safety.
Right.
But that aside, I find a violation of Rule 3.08A based upon the evidence in Mr. Kenrick's, or Mr. Godin's admission, and I will agree with a fine of $1,000.
Okay, thank you.
Are we introducing the photos? Exhibit?
Yes.
Yeah, let's.
Did we say 30 days to pay on that?
Yes.
Yeah, we have exhibits. 1 second, I'm sorry. I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Elsie Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, 4 photos. Thank you.
Can- mhm.
This guy needs to go out of business.
Colin Scarlett and Robert Scarlett, Exit 59 Inc., trading as Exit 59 Lounge and Restaurant, 6820-24 Eastern Avenue. This is a Class B, a beer, wine, and liquor license, here for violation of Rule 3.12, General Welfare on December the 8th, 2017. Violation of Rule 3.09B, Restroom Facilities and Health Regulations on December the 8th, 2017, and violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct on January the 23rd, 2018. Please come forward.
Would everyone who's going to testify raise their hands, please? Right hands.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Mr. Maslin?
Yeah, for the record, Gary Maslin on behalf of Carlin Scarlett, licensee. Preliminarily, we moved to dismiss the charge of illegal conduct. For the reasons thereof, submit.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
And, sorry.
Thank you.
What I've submitted to the board is a report about numerous violations related to alcohol consumption, fighting, at the Horseshoe Casino in Baltimore. This institution is the most flagrant
Can I stop you for
violator.
just a second? I thought you were addressing 4.16. You said illegal conduct.
It is illegal.
Well, illegal conduct has to do with the failure to renew the trader's
No, I'm
license.
sorry, it was a, it would be the violation involving the
general welfare?
The general welfare charge, I'm sorry.
So you had me confused.
My apologies.
So you're saying because it goes on everywhere, it's okay here?
No, I'm saying because it violates the Equal Protection Clause. Licensees in this state should all be treated equally and fairly. And what occurs in Baltimore City is that the casino is a sacred cow. They have never been cited by this board for any type of violation. It is the most flagrant abuser or violator of liquor laws that we have in the entire state of Maryland.
And we're supposed to assume that based on a Baltimore Brew article?
Well, if you look at it, you'll see that it cites, the Baltimore Brew cites the fact that the liquor board has never, even though having knowledge of violations there, never cited the casino with any
Shocked
of
by
the
that, 'cause
violations.
the Brew's so fond of us.
And so factual.
And also, I would cite that the stadium also, there's numerous outbreaks of fights and things in the stadium, and they're never in front of this board.
So you're saying that the licensees at Exit 59 Lounge and Restaurant are similarly situated to casinos and stadiums?
I'm saying they've been cited with a violation
You're making
that
an equal
occurs,
protection argument.
that occurs at other places, and they're not prosecuted. It's the little guy that gets prosecuted. People that are contributors, large contributors, tax contributors to the state of Maryland, to politicians in the state of Maryland, they appear not to be prosecuted, but the small business owner is. And until there's an equal footing, an equal application, and prosecution of the laws, I don't believe this board should go forward against any licensee with a violation of this nature.
I think you've been reading too many tweets, but go ahead.
But that would be my argument why we should not proceed on this. And I'd ask that there be an investigation done, and even perhaps a special prosecutor appointed to investigate why this is continuing. I've spoken with police officers, and they're mystified. They've off the record, they've indicated to me it's sort of a hands-off policy, and it appears that's the case.
Well, they've convinced you anyway.
Totally.
Thank you for your argument.
100%.
There's no legal basis for it, so I'll deny it. Is
All
there
right.
anything else?
No, not at this time. We deny the allegations.
Okay. Who's going to testify?
Agent Christian Malice, Baltimore City Liquor Board. On December 8, 2017, at approximately 10:12 p.m., while on duty working with a social task force consisting of members of the Baltimore Police Vice Unit, Baltimore City Fire Department, Baltimore City Health Department, Baltimore Housing Investigation Unit, and the Baltimore City Liquor Board visited 6820 Eastern Avenue in the city of Baltimore, state of Maryland. Once at the location, the task force began conducting their inspections. During the inspections, it was determined that the trader's license was expired. The establishment was given a warning to obtain current traders. While the health department was conducting their inspection, there was a fight on the second level of the establishment where a private party was being held. Once upstairs, we witnessed several individuals fighting. Once the second floor was cleared of patrons, the party was canceled. The health department closed the whole establishment due to the multiple health violations. Once we were upstairs during the fight, a security officer had to deploy mace or a substance similar to mace to be able to clear the area. There was an elderly woman that was being attacked by family members, actually. It was an engagement party from what I recall. Security actually did do a good job clearing the second floor. It had gone pretty bad pretty quickly. And I actually said to the owner that I was shocked and glad that he had security for an engagement party. Typically, venues don't have security for engagement parties.
You have questions for the inspector?
No, Inspector, you said that he did not have a trader's license at that time. I show you a copy. I apologize, it's on a cell phone. You're familiar with trader's licenses look like?
I am.
And is that in fact a trader's license
It-
for?
it
Go ahead,
is.
Inspector.
I'm sorry.
For the
Bad eyes.
exit.
It is.
All right. So they did, in fact, they have secured then, is it fair to say, a trader's license?
I'm assuming that that is for the location, yes. I actually checked, I did a follow-up investigation there weeks later. I've
6820 Eastern Avenue.
I went back.
Yeah,
I verified that they had purchased it. I, however, did not violate them for that. I gave them a warning to obtain a trader's license.
All right. And I'd offer this. I apologize that it's on a cell phone, but
I'll take his
it's
word
been verified that there is a valid.
I'm confused. You
current
said
trader's
there was no violation because we have a violation.
Right.
Perhaps the administrative staff, I gave a warning for the trader's license.
What's the date on there?
It was secured, it was recently secured after,
Well, the inspector said he checked and that you do have one now.
He does have a current trader's license now.
Even they follow up the next week, he came and showed.
Who are you, sir?
that's all right. You don't have to
No,
tell.
he has to give his name.
Oh,
He's gonna
sorry.
testify.
All right, wait, stop.
My name is Yared Tesfaye.
What is it?
Yared, Y-A-R-E-D.
Tesfaye,
Now, we're,
T-E-S-F-A-Y.
Want to talk?
Y-E.
Okay.
Inspector?
yes.
Chief Inspector Mark Fossler. The reason for the violation is that the trader's license expires at the same time as our liquor licenses. So trader's license would have, 2016 would have expired on April 30th, and every business establishment in the state would be required to have a trader's license. And we generally give, because sometimes the processing is a little bit longer, we generally give some leeway in obtaining a trader's license. But because this occurred so late after, so much after,
I'm saying almost 12 months after. Is that what you're saying?
about 7 months after.
Okay.
7 months after. So.
Okay. And what about the health?
We have members of the health department here, Chairman, that can better answer
Okay.
those
Please
questions.
identify yourself, sir.
Yes, sir. Todd Ward with the Baltimore City Health Department. I'm an inspector, and I was on site that evening. We had gone in to investigate or to inspect the kitchen, found many problems. They had chicken that was above the temperature of 41 degrees. We measured it at 45 degrees, so that was unsafe. The kitchen was unclean. There were bowls that were dirty and stored improperly. They were upright instead of upside down. Some knives and forks sitting around that were dirty. Countertops were dirty. The biggest problem was there was not a certified food manager on site at the time. We had been told that the chef, who was also the food manager, had left earlier in the evening, and they were waiting for the second chef to show up. So at the time, they didn't have a food manager on site to secure the kitchen.
Okay. Do you have questions?
Now, you cited the chicken problem.
Yes, sir.
Matter of fact, there was a refrigeration problem. Is
There was
that
also a
correct?
refrigerator that was not
All right,
operating
and I'll
correctly.
show you a receipt dated December the 13th, 2017.
Okay.
For $6,500. You agree that they went out and purchased a refrigerator to replace a defective refrigerator? Yes, sir. And matter of fact, you closed the facility because of the food violations, is that correct? And then after you closed the facility, they came down for a conference?
Correct.
And they established that they had a valid food manager?
Yeah, they did have a valid food manager, but the person was not on site.
Wasn't on site at that time.
Right.
But they had a valid food manager. They went out. They weren't aware that their refrigerator was defective, but immediately replaced it and corrected all of the deficiencies that you noted.
Yes,
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you normally would give a person some time to correct deficiencies, would you not?
Yes, they were given time to correct, and a reinspection was done on December 15th, and they were reopened.
Right, but you immediately shut them down, and then, and then they were reopened right once they've corrected the deficiencies, including the purchase of a $6,500 refrigerator. All right. I don't have any further questions.
Do you have testimony that you want to present?
No, I'd just like to basically proffer some things. One is, I don't believe there's establishment of any violation of the general welfare violation. To the contrary, when you have a family that's there for some sort of an engagement party, and a disruption occurred, in the best of families, people have arguments. This family was a little dysfunctional, to say the least.
How's the wedding planning going?
I don't know. It's one I would not wish to attend. But to their credit, they had their security people sprung into action immediately. There was no violation of any general welfare. They protected the welfare. They broke it up, and they were even complimented by the inspector who was there. And everybody was kind of surprised that a family function would generate the way it did. So clearly, there's no violation there. With respect to the trader's license, he said he issued a warrant. He wasn't even supposed to be cited with that. And that issue has been corrected. I would proffer to the board that the reason why he didn't have a trader's license, there was a very small sales tax account amount that hadn't been satisfied. When he came to me and I looked into it, I found out what the problem was. He immediately went down. He paid the sales tax, and we secured the license. So he wasn't supposed to be charged with that to begin with. With the final allegation there about the health department matters, they didn't even know that their refrigerator was what? Pardon me?
Who didn't know?
The
licensee?
Licensee had no knowledge until the health department indicated there was a chicken problem with temperature. When they found out, they went out, and it was a defective refrigeration unit. They went out and spent $6,500 to replace the unit. They immediately corrected the bowls being turned upside down. The place was shut down by the health department, rightfully so. We're not arguing that point. And there was a conference held. My client went down, not my client, but the food service person went down, and the health department was satisfied with everything. In a matter of 3 days, they were reopened. I would ask the board not to take any action against them, because you'd have to have some knowledge of a defective refrigerator, and they had no knowledge until the health department, and thank God they were there, and they checked, and they found out that the chicken wasn't holding temperature, and they went out and they corrected that problem. So this is a responsible licensee, runs a nice business, had a staff that sprung into action, corrected all the deficiencies found, and created the technical deficiency of the trader's license. I would ask the board not to take any action against the licensee.
Okay. Commissioners have anything before we proceed?
Just to clarify the trader's license issue, on January 23rd, it was not in compliance.
Correct.
Then, okay.
At the time of the charging document, the warning was issued on December the 8th. When staff reviewed the Maryland business license records check, they had not procured the trader's license as of January the 23rd, 2018. If they did, they had not presented a copy to the agency.
Anything?
No other questions. No.
Okay. Thank you all. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging of the violations that we have before us, as well as all the testimony that we've heard and arguments of counsel, I would find a violation of Rule 3.12 on December 8, 2017 at approximately 10:12 p.m. I'd find a violation of Rule 3.09 small b on December 8, 2017 at the same time, and a violation of Rule 4.16 on January 23, 2018. Now, despite Mr. Maslin's political speech about us picking on you, this is the first time you've ever been violated for anything.
Correct.
So I don't know what led to that diatribe. But on the other hand, and I do commend you. Apparently, you had good security in place to assist when the general welfare offense occurred, and you did go out and correct the other difficulties. So I don't think we are likely to be unduly harsh on you, but we have to impose some sanction for the violations. So with respect to the 3.12 violation, I'd impose a $200 fine. As to the 3.09B, a $300 fine. And as to the 4.16, another $200 fine. I give you 30 days to make the payments. It's a total of $700.
I agree with the finding of a violation of 3.12 for general welfare. I agree with the violation of Rule 3.09, little b. And just one point, I understand that they had cleared up the deficiencies with respect to the fridge, but I think ultimately it is their responsibility to know what is going on within their establishment. So I don't find that they didn't have knowledge to be to absolve them of responsibility here. And I do find a violation of Rule 4.16 for illegal conduct, because I think at the time that our staff reviewed the license, the trader's license, it hadn't been updated. And I agree with the chair's issuance of fines for each one. So for 3.12, $200, 3.09B, $300, and 4.16, $200, and that is based on the fact that you have had no history of violations so far.
Let me start with the middle violation. I do find a violation of Rule 3.09B and would agree with the $300 fine. I do agree with a violation of Rule 4.16 and do agree upon with a fine of $200. With respect to the Rule 3.12, I actually am of the belief that you're not in violation of that. I think you did actually operate your establishment in a manner to avoid that. And what happened, unfortunately. But as Agent Chris Amalis had said, you had security there, as the evidence suggests. You had security there, so I think you did the best. You did whatever you could to the best of your ability, and for that, I won't find a violation on Rule 3.12. But I've been outvoted on that, so there it is.
Okay. I'd ask maybe one of you could reconsider on that point. Since there's a.
I'm not.
No, I don't think so, but thank you.
All right. There's no harm in asking.
No harm in asking. But I think you should save your big arguments for worst cases.
For worst, well,
never
that's
pick
how
on these
you know.
people. Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Don't come back.
Nice seeing you all.
You too.
Quiet, please.
Exhibits, please, sir. Thank you.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department Report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, Investigation Report, Agent John Chris Amalis. Board Exhibit 3, MD, Judiciary Business License Database Printout. Thank you.
Mr. Page, we need to wait for Commissioner Greenfield.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Everybody's running for office now.
One more.
I'm too old to tolerate it.
That's not, it's our case. I mean, it's their case. It's not yours. You don't have a point. I don't know how to explain it. Citizen.
Why don't you do something about it? Larry's having a good day.
I've been down that road, bro.
This case, the last case?
Yeah.
okay. All right, sure. No problem. Kevin Young, Touchdown LLC, trading as Touchdown 1171-73 West Hamburg Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct on May the 5th, 2017. Violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct on March the 1st, 2018. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadensky representing Mr. Kevin Young.
Would everyone who's going to testify raise their right hands, please?
Raise your right hands, please. Do you swear or affirm testimony? You don't have to testify, that's where you raise your right hands. You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
So,
Mr. Chairman, if I might, James Temple on behalf of Touchdown LLC. As it might come out in the process of this hearing, there is an ongoing dispute that hopefully will be resolved relatively soon as to the corporate ownership of the members' percentages. So I'm here solely as a representative based upon our belief that Touchdown LLC is held by my client as at least the majority member.
but I was told ahead of this hearing today that either you or Mr. Konecki was seeking to continue the case for some period of time. And I wasn't necessarily opposed to that, but I wanted to bring everyone in today to make it very clear that to the extent that Mr. Young holds this license, he's ineligible to hold the license. So it has to be transferred.
Well, I can,
Do you want to speak to that?
well, when I would never, ever speak, you know. As far as the corporation, Mr. Young had come to see me, and we found out the reason why the corporations was forfeited was because they didn't pay their tangible personal property taxes. I got a hold of him, he went out, I actually got the receipt where he paid for 2 years. He has to go then file for, to have reinstall the corporate charter, 2 years. That takes care of that issue. With regard to the issue of the felony conviction, here's what I was able to, and I didn't do the criminal case, so I'll let you know that, because I probably would have had them all got rid of, okay? But there were 3 cases which Andrew Sauer was handling for him, and I asked him as to what happened, and he had brought me in papers from Marilyn Bentley from the court indicating 2 of these cases were null pros. But there's a 3rd case, which it was not a null pros. And I think that was where the confusion was. But the end result is, yes, that was a felony conviction. Yes, he knows that he has
It
that.
wasn't appealed or anything, it's
No,
final.
no. But that was the confusion, because he kept saying, no, they were null pros. And yes, they were, but the one wasn't. He understands that he's going to have another licensee within a week to go on. As far as the ownership, that's a separate fight that I'm not involved in at this point. But I think that
If I can speak, Mr. Chairman, I was the one that was going to, we assumed that we would appear here, and I was going to ask for a postponement because, without getting into a lot of detail, there is an ongoing civil case in Baltimore County in which my client, Mr. Butler, has sued the other members in a declaratory judgment. I'm not handling that case, but I can update you on that. That case there's been an order of default. And on April 19th, there is an inquisition on damages and ownership.
Damages on a DJ action?
Yes. On April 19th in the Circuit Court for Baltimore County, that will resolve the ownership issues. To be blunt, I think the chairman is absolutely correct. Obviously, Mr. Young, both by his status now from the conviction and frankly from what we believe will be a resolution of the corporate ownership, is not going to be the licensee. I'm coming into this late in the action. My client is coming in kind of late into this.
But you're not trying to say your client is licensee on May 5 or March 1, are you?
That he was the individual licensee or owned part of the corporation?
Well, I don't know, because there are violations charged. Is he going to be responsible for those violations? That's why I'm asking you.
If they're found to be violations and we, the corporation, have the majority ownership, yes, we'd have to be.
Do you have an objection to us continuing the case?
I think it's got to be resolved one way or the other. We were coming here basically is to make sure the taxes were paid. Number 2, I was able to verify that there is that, and I told him he cannot, continue to be a licensee. And then the questions, we had talked about having somebody, I don't know if any are available, we'll
Well,
put you
somebody's
on a
got to be
license.
responsible for these, and I think that, I wouldn't be opposed to a brief continuance, but, you know, if that case in Baltimore County is appealed, I'm not waiting 2 years
I understand.
to
And I
resolve
actually
this.
believe that that, again, you never know what's going to happen in court, as the court well knows what's going to happen. I think it's resolved, and the corporate documents that I think I've seen are pretty clear about the ownership, at least the majority ownership, and we resolved. And we wanted to, the reason for the postponement was to do all of the things that we were not even aware that they've done part of, which is pay part of the tax bill, get the reinstatement of the corporation, get a new licensee, come in here to the board and say, listen, this is where we are. We've resolved these issues, at least to that
Well,
point.
let me ask you this, will you contact our office after the 19th of April and advise whether this hearing went forward?
Absolutely.
And then we'll set it promptly back in?
Yes.
Okay.
Lastly, there was a suspension put on the door. It was because for the failure to pay the taxes.
Well, if you can establish,
I mean, I saw it's on the door, and there was a letter sent, if you didn't pay it by a certain day, the audit would be sua sponte, it'd be suspended. And then, in the meantime, he has paid. I can give the board a copy of the fact they were paid. And I'm not sure, bring it, oh, here we go. Actually, I was like visuals. I don't know, who wrote this up? Somebody's
That's
name
Mr.
got
Akers, he
scratched
does
out.
that.
Look at this. Who was that? Okay. Cost of violation. Do you know what this is about? Is it about that?
Yeah, if I may, this has to do with the failure to pay personal property taxes.
Okay.
And a letter was sent out to Touchstone LLC on January 19th, 2018. I believe this is what you were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
and then paying the personal property taxes.
Can I give it to you while you're here?
No. Once
I can't give it to
we
you?
get confirmation from the Department of Finance, and we'll go through the proper channels to get that confirmation, we can then allow the location to be reopened. However,
and we'll open it up.
I got a receipt. I mean, I don't have the stamp in my office that says Director of Finance.
Well, you can give Tom a copy of it,
Oh,
but
yeah, I'll
we've
give
got to
him a
do
copy.
our
It's just,
own
I'm the next person.
verification.
Yes.
I think it's
Okay.
pretty.
We trust you, but we do our own verification.
thank you.
Okay, so this case will be continued. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
No more equal protection on it? That's all
Do you want to make that an exhibit, by the way?
right. Yeah, I can.
So,
So we do
Stacy.
this. Okay. Mr. Akers, can I have this exhibit, please?
No,
Thank you.
I gave him, I made extra ones for everybody. Just to-
let me make it an exhibit.
Yeah.
That's okay. Thank you. Are we on the record still? Yes. I'd like to call the exhibit for the record. Board Exhibit 1. Personal property tax bill dated July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. Thank you.
My expert shows up now.
Yes. So, Mr. Page, is that our docket?
That is our docket, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The board is in recess until Thursday, April the 19th, 2018, at 10 a.m. to begin protest of renewals.
Finish by 6, 7?
8.
You're killing us with these.
You hear that?